Chapter 2987. Kong Hongye was trapped in this space and remained silent. Yu Shiyu stood outside the space and laughed sarcastically. So, no matter what the result is, your Kong family will be destroyed this time. The final result will be death. Looking at the unresponsive Kong Hongye, Yu Shiyu said, "Those old fogies all think that you're still alive because of them. They've always wanted to use the fact that you're still alive to control me. Don't you know how ridiculous this is? After so many years, if I wanted to kill, you and your few clansmen would have died countless times. Now that your foolish son is back, they finally made a move. But no matter what the result is, you all have to die. Tell me the secret of Heaven's Road, and I will let your foolish son go, or let him live in this dispute." Yu Shiyu had asked this question many times, so naturally he could not get the answer he wanted. In the end, he said with a smile, "I have waited for so many years, so I don't mind waiting for 2 more years. When I catch your foolish son, let's see if you can still keep silent like now. I look forward to the scene of you father and son meeting." Yu Shiyu laughed and left. Trapped in the space, Kong Hongye, who had been silent, showed a worried look for the first time. In the room, Zi-chan was refining a resource. It was a resource he did not know, like a 7-colored crystal, which contained pure and surging energy. When he was refining, he could clearly feel the strengthening of his body. The effect was much better than the Thunderstone. But when Zi-chan finished refining the first piece, he was very sure that these resources were not enough for him to break through. Kong Mo was very busy these days. He had been busy refining the armor. He had been in the team for a long time and knew everyone very well. For example, Zi-chen's energy and fighting style. Therefore, when they were drawing the armor, they added a pair of boxing gloves. The patterns on the boxing gloves were connected to the armor. This way, it would still be a set of armor, and his fighting strength would be stronger. The same thing was obviously not suitable for everyone, such as Zhang Haoyan. He was only suitable for light and agile things, not for heavy equipment that affected speed and pursued power. Everyone's armor was different in shape, but all of them were able to maximize their strength. After drawing the patterns of these battle armors, Kong Mo would give them to Kappa, and at the same time follow Kappa to find the corresponding materials. He was also very serious about looking for materials. Every one of them was the best and had the fewest flaws. Regarding this, Kappa didn't say anything. The rumors in the city continued. Every once in a while, there would be an unfavorable matter brought up by the elders. These were all the evil deeds of the Yu clan. At the same time, the Elders Guild also began to recruit. The entire Heaven's Road city had a different atmosphere, which was a sign of a great war. Under such circumstances, the divine generals in the city began to hesitate whether they should choose a side, because this would determine whether they would leave or not. As the elders issued one statement after another, some rumors began to circulate in the city. For instance, the Council of Elders had recruited a certain person. This person's combat strength was extremely strong and could even break through the natives' restraining domains. Once he took action, the Yu family would be utterly defeated. This news spread like wildfire, so much so that the Council of Elders took the opportunity to recruit some powerhouses. The Yu family had remained silent. Due to the deliberate exaggeration of the elders, the Yu family's silence turned into fear. Yu Shiyu still hadn't left the Alliance master residence. In the eyes of some people, this was the Yu family's most powerful counterattack. Time passed. The elders still issued a statement every once in a while, but they didn't make any other big moves. This situation continued for 5 years, and the divine generals in the city became accustomed to it. The Elders Guild's behavior, which was all bark and no bite, attracted many people's ridicule. Then, another 5 years passed. The Elders Guild didn't even issue a statement anymore because they had dug up almost everything the Yu family had done behind the scenes. Now, there was nothing left to say. Furthermore, the Yu family didn't respond at all. It was as if they were punching the air. After 10 years of punching, they had long lost the energy to do so. Now they were waiting. They were waiting for Zi-Chun to break through and for the battle armor to be successfully refined. These days, there had been other elders in Kappa's residence. They were asking when Zi-Chun would break through. "Let's talk about it after the battle armor is refined," Kappa replied indifferently. In fact, he was also a little anxious. However, it had only been 10 years. Compared to the endless life of a divine general, 10 years was just a snap of the fingers. At this time, Kong Mo came to Kappa to ask for resources. "What resources?" Kappa asked doubtfully. "The resources that Big Brother used to break through are now gone," Kong Mo said. "It's only been 10 years and it's gone? Are you kidding me?" An elder next to him widened his eyes in disbelief. Kong Mo said calmly, "Big Brother's refining speed is very fast. He also needs a lot of resources to break through. He said that if there are no resources, then he will refine Thunderstones, but the speed will be much slower." The elders who came showed anger on their faces. They thought that Zi-Chun was cheating them of their resources. Kappa said indifferently, "Go get the resources." When the elders heard this, their faces were naturally ugly. In the years when they were suppressed by the Yu family, the resources they received were really limited. Taking out those 10 years ago had already made them feel heartache. Seeing Kappa's attitude, they had to go back and get the resources first. Kong Mo took the resources back, and Zi-Chun continued to refine them. In fact, those resources had been refined a long time ago. He had been refining Thunderstones, so the effect was naturally slower than refining the resources. Kong Mo didn't bring back many resources, but it was already very impressive that he could get them. After Zi-Chun thanked him, he continued to refine. Although he knew that it was still impossible to break through, it could at least make his battle strength stronger. In just 5 years, Zi-Chun had finished refining all the resources he had. This time it was naturally impossible to ask for more, so he began to refine Thunderstones. In the Alliance leader's residence, the acting Alliance leader Yushiu sat in a Taisher chair. In front of him stood a rank 7 divine general with a respectful expression. "Is the news true?" Yushiu asked. "Don't worry, Alliance leader. I saw it with my own eyes. The batch of battle armor is about to be completed," the rank 7 said respectfully. "How long will it take?" "Less than half a year." "Very good. You may leave." Yushiu waved his hand, and the rank 7 respectfully left. After pondering for a while, Yushiu said, "Come in. What orders does the Alliance leader have?" A native walked in. Chapter 2988. The news released by the Yu clan caused an uproar in the city. Everyone was shocked. It hadn't been long since the last time the Gate of Heaven Road opened. Under normal circumstances, it shouldn't open so soon. And what was extremely rare was that there were actually 50 extra slots. This was extremely good news for the divine generals who had been in the city for a long time. The registration would begin in half a year, and now they couldn't wait. When he heard the news, Kappa was discussing with the elders about when to attack the Alliance Leader Mansion. 50 slots. This time the Yu clan is really generous. Kappa smiled coldly and said, "It seems that they are afraid." The other elders were silent, their expressions constantly changing. "How long until their armor is made?" Kappa asked. "Less than half a year," an elder said. "Then it's just in time." Kappa said, "Next, everyone should gather some resources. I am preparing to let Zi-Chun break through to a new realm in this last year." Kappa's words made the others stunned, and then their expressions became ugly. One of the elders shook his head and said, "Our Fei clan can't take out any more resources. Our Si clan can't either." Another elder said, "These years we have been constantly suppressed by the Yu clan. Our resources are getting less and less." The others naturally expressed the same meaning, which was that they were poor and had no resources. "Since that's the case, then forget it. After the armor is made, I will go find Zi-Chun and urge him to fight. Everyone else nodded and took their leave. This was the first time they left in such a hurry after confirming that they would join forces to deal with the Yu clan. Usually, they couldn't be chased away. After everyone left, the smile on Kappa's face disappeared and he coldly snorted. What a bunch of short-sighted fellows. It's only 50 slots and they're tempted. Kappa was very clear about what these people were thinking when they left in such a hurry. But he was very disdainful because it was only 50 slots. It was completely like charity. His goal was greater. In the following time, the Alliance Leader Mansion, which had been quiet for a while, became lively again. People from all walks of life came to visit. Among these people, there were naturally people from the Alliance. However, the Alliance Master refused to see them. Everyone was blocked outside by the steward. The steward only said one thing: if you want a spot, you have to register in half a year. Those people had come in high spirits, but returned in disappointment. Naturally, they couldn't avoid cursing the Yu family in secret. Half a year's time, to some people, passed quickly. However, to those who were waiting for a spot, it was too slow. On this day, Kappa went to look for Zichin. This was the first time that he had taken the initiative to look for Zichin since he had entered seclusion. Clearly, this action also had the intention of letting Zichin come out of seclusion. Zichin opened his eyes, which flashed with the light of thunder. After all these years of meditation and refinement, he had not made a breakthrough in his cultivation level, but his combat strength had increased by quite a bit. Kappa was waiting for him in the living room. Kong Mo was sitting next to him. Zichin walked into the living room and saw Kappa. "Congratulations," Kappa said with a smile. Zichin had not made a breakthrough, but his combat strength had increased, so the congratulations were not wrong. Zichin nodded and expressed his thanks. "The armor has been completely refined. This time I came to personally deliver the armor, and also to tell you something." Kappa took out the armor, which flashed with the light of thunder. One of the main materials of this armor was thunderstone, which could greatly increase Zichin's combat strength. "What does Elder want to say?" Seeing the armor, Zichin nodded with satisfaction. A flash of light appeared in his hand, and he directly put away the armor. "The Yu family has released news that the gate to Heaven's Path has opened again. This time, 50 spots have been announced to the public. Now, the divine generals in the city have already begun to register," Kappa said. "Oh, was it like this before?" Zichin asked. Kappa shook his head and said, "In the past, it was never announced to the public. It was even more impossible for them to give out extra spots. I think they are afraid and want to use this opportunity to recruit more experts." Zichin pondered for a moment, then said, "Elder, what do you want me to do?" Kappa said, "It's not what I want you to do, but whether you are prepared to do it or not. Heaven's Path isn't something that can be opened just because one wants to, even if they have the key. It is said that the gate to Heaven's Path needs to be filled with energy. When the energy reaches a certain level, it will open. It has only been a few hundred years since the last time it opened. This time, the Yu family will have to pay a price. Once they succeed, even if they get the key, they will have to wait for at least 2,000 years to open it again." Obviously, Zichin needed to make a choice, and this choice was whether to wait for 2,000 years or not. If he waited, he believed that after 2,000 years his realm would definitely break through, and so would his friends. At that time, it would be easy to take down the Yu family. Now, this was not the only problem. There was also Kong Mo. What if the Yu family killed Kong, Mo's father, in these 2,000 years? They wouldn't do it in the past, but not now. At the same time, if he waited for 2,000 years, would there be any unforeseen events? For example, would those hostile heavenly god children attack them again? After seeing Zichin frown, Kappa didn't say anything. He didn't want to force Zichin. Everything depended on his choice. "How long until the gate to Heaven's Path opens?" After a moment, Zichin asked. Half a year, Kappa said. I have to discuss it with my companions, Zichen said. This is a big matter. Naturally, we have to discuss it. Kappa got up, took out another set of armor, and said, If you decide, remember to tell me in advance so that we can arrange people to help. Kappa left. After taking in the expressions of Zichen and Kong Mo, he could already guess Zichen's answer. After Kappa left, Zichen glanced at Kong Mo nodded, then immediately stepped forward and picked up a set of armor to examine it. Behind him, he unfolded his domain and entered it with the armor. These armors were refined by others. Although the quality was excellent, Zichen didn't trust them. After leaving his own armor for Kong Mo to examine, Zichen went to find everyone. Everyone woke up from their seclusion. Although they had refined countless thunderstones, it was obviously unrealistic to want to break through again in a short time. Zichen talked about the recent situation, then looked at everyone and said, What are you going to do? The others were silent. Chapter 2989. Monk spoke passionately and righteously. His expression was indescribably serious. Devil Ape glanced at him and said, Although I know your intention is to fight, I still agree with you. Not to mention other reasons. Just the fact that Kong Mo's father was captured is enough reason for us to take action. Zichen looked at everyone. They had followed him for many years and participated in many battles. Naturally, they had encountered dangers and even died. The battle before them was not as simple as an ordinary battle. They were going against a powerful force. During this time, they would encounter countless powerhouses, and they were all powerhouses on the ranking list. They were only at the 8th rank. Under the situation of a huge gap between their ranks, this battle would not only not be optimistic, but people would also die. In a situation where everyone was risking their lives, he had no reason not to ask for everyone's opinion. I have no objection, Thunder said. If we want to grow quickly, besides refining resources, fighting is also a shortcut. Me too, said Xingqian. Brilliant and Bright Moon did not speak. The 4 of them had the same thought. No one would have any objection. They had grown up fighting and were not afraid of fighting. Now that they had a reason to fight, they naturally had to fight. Su Mengyao finally said, Let's think of a countermeasure to minimize the losses. The matter was settled. Everyone agreed to fight. When they entered the living room, Kong Mo had already retreated from the domain. Before Zichen could ask, Kong Mo said, They really did something. There is an inconspicuous inscription formation in each of these armors. Zichen's expression did not change much. He asked, What is the function of these patterns? Destruction. Kong Mo said, When the pattern is activated, the armor will self-destruct. If you wear the armor, your life will be in danger when the armor is destroyed. Can it be removed? Asked Zichen. Yes, the pattern is important in its concealment. As long as it is discovered, it is not difficult to remove, said Kong Mo. Zichen said, Remove it quickly. After you're done, we will fight. Kong Mo said hesitantly, Big brother, are you really going to fight? Zichen nodded and said, We can't back down from this battle. But the way they treat Big Brother, Zichen patted Kong Mo's head and said with a smile, It's nothing more than using each other. Let's see who will have the last laugh. The next day, Zichen informed Kappa that they would be participating in the battle and asked him if he had any plans. Kappa laughed and said that he would fully cooperate. Following that, Kappa continued, For this battle, we do not have any other requests. We only have one thought, and that is to successfully rescue the Alliance leader. After the Yu clan is annihilated, we will fully support the Alliance master. At the same time, the key must be handed to the Alliance master. Zichen said in admiration. Elder's actions truly make Zichen feel both admiration and shame. Rest assured, Elder, even if we die in battle this time, we will save the Alliance leader. Zichen bid farewell and left. Kappa signaled for the other elders to come and inform them that Zichen was going to make a move. When the elders heard this, they were very excited. Clearly, they had been preparing for this day for many years. When are we going to make a move? An elder asked impatiently. Half a year later, Kappa said. Since we're going to make a move sooner or later, why not now? Zichin said that in the last half a year, they should make the best use of their time and try to see if they can break through. Hearing Kappa's words, the elders' expressions changed. One of them said, he can't be thinking of asking us for resources again, right? Kappa smiled. Don't worry, he won't this time. It's good that he doesn't want resources. Otherwise, he would be too greedy. In the last half a year, it was naturally impossible for them to break through. This time was left for Kong and Mo to break the patterns on the armor. After returning, Zi-Chun informed them that the armor had been tampered with. Their expressions did not change much, and they did not even show any anger. They did not have any friendship with these elders. This was originally a game of mutual benefit, so there was naturally no need to talk about mutual trust. The battle will begin in half a year. During this time, everyone will continue to refine thunderstones. After leaving the residence, Zi-Chen went to find Wei Li. The two met at the restaurant. Wei Li smiled and said, At first, I was wondering if you would make a move this time. If you don't make a move this time, the next opportunity will be a few thousand years later. Half a year later, we'll prepare to make a move, Zi-Chen said. Work with the Alliance. Wei Li asked. Zi-Chen shook his head and said, No, we'll do it ourselves. The Alliance's people are unreliable. This is a fight for benefits. There's indeed no one you can trust. You, on the other hand, not only do you have to fight with the Yu family, but you also have to be careful of the people behind you, Wei Li said. These years, I've secretly found some people, and they expressed their willingness to fight. Although there aren't many of them, they're definitely reliable. They're all rank 9. Zi-Chen thought for a while and said, Your people shouldn't make a move for now. I hope you can be responsible for protecting my friends in case they're plotted against. We're not afraid of a head-on battle. The only thing we're worried about is the backup in the dark. That's not a problem. Wei Li thought for a while and said, But are you sure you don't need us to make a move? This time, you're going to deal with a huge aristocratic family? Not for now. The Alliance's people have to be of some use, Zi-Chen said. I plan to let them deal with those rank 9 divine generals. On the day Zi-Chen decided to fight, the Alliance leader's mansion received the news. A cold smile appeared on Yu Shiyu's face. There are too many powers in this city. Now, it's finally time to clean them up. Half a year? Then I'll let you live for another half a year. He looked outside and said, Pass down the order. Add another 50 spots. The selection will begin in 5 months. A voice came from outside the door, but no one came out. Kong Mo didn't sleep or rest. He spent several months deciphering all the inscriptions on the armor. At the same time, he checked it again and again. After confirming that there were no abnormalities, he handed the armor to everyone. Everyone put on the armor and familiarized themselves with their fighting strength. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. In the Alliance leader's mansion, the selection for the 100 spots began. However, the steward hadn't said how the selection would be carried out. He just said to wait. Zi-Chen put on the armor and walked out of the room. Monk and the others were already waiting outside. At this time, they were all wearing custom-made armor. Let's go. Zi-Chen's gaze swept over the crowd and walked forward. Walking out of the courtyard, there were more than a dozen elders standing outside. The leader was Kappa. Behind these elders, there were more than 30 divine generals, all of whom were rank 9. Zi-Chen, these people will be under your command, said Kappa. You have the final say on when to make a move. Chapter 2990. Morale was the most important thing in a battle. Zi-Chen's words had obviously caused the team to lose its morale. After hearing Zi-Chen's words, the divine generals all frowned. Kappa said with a smile, Don't you have dozens of people behind you? I think it's enough. Besides, You don't need to destroy the Yu family. You just need to kill Yu Shiyu and save the leader. If it's not convenient for you to make a move during this period, let them cover you. You're mainly responsible for killing Yu Shiyu. That's right, Ziqin. Speaking of which, they are the ones under the most pressure. They have to block the experts recruited by the Yu family for you. Relatively speaking, your pressure is the lightest, another elder said. Ziqin said, That's right, but if I die, you won't have a good time, right? I don't believe that after this incident, with all of us dying in battle, you will still be able to survive unscathed. When the elders heard this, their expressions immediately changed. One of them shouted at Ziqin, Ziqin, what do you mean? We're the ones who gave you the resources and armor. Do you think you can threaten us before we've even fought? Threaten? Ziqin sneered and said, If I threatened you, I would have gone to negotiate with Yu Shiyu. Why would I go through so much trouble? Besides, you have to sacrifice our lives. The elders' expressions changed again. Obviously, with Ziqin's combat strength, if he went to Yu Shiyu, the other party would definitely accept him. Kappa hurriedly said, The battle is imminent. The most taboo is to say something unfavorable. Moreover, the morale of the army cannot be disrupted. How about this? I'll send 20 more people over. I believe it should be enough this time. Ziqin did not say anything more to the elders. He looked at the divine generals in front of him and said, You came here earlier than me. It's fate that we can fight side by side today. Everyone, I hope we can all survive. The expressions of these indifferent, godly generals changed. Ziqin walked forward. Monk and the others followed him. The divine generals followed behind them. A total of 50 divine generals had come, all of them 9th grade. There was no telling how many of them were powerhouses from the ranking of generals. Their auras were tyrannical. Outside of Heaven Road City, each of them was equivalent to a legion commander like Blood Scorpion and Wei Li. Watching them leave, an elder asked, What are we going to do? Kappa said, Of course, we're here to watch the battle and cheer for our people. As he spoke, he followed her. The other elders hesitated for a moment before following suit. Outside the Alliance Chief residence, hundreds of rank 9s had gathered. They were all waiting for the assessment of the 100 slots. Although they didn't know why the Yu family was so generous this time, they were determined to get these 100 spots. On this day, the steward walked out of the Alliance head residence. He looked at these people and said, Next, the 100 most courageous people will get these 100 spots. After saying that, the butler left, leaving behind a group of puzzled rank 9s. What do you mean by the most heroic 100 people? Puzzled, they soon found out the reason. An intense killing intent came from the horizon, and these killing intents gathered together. Looking at the person in front of them, the divine generals suddenly understood. So this was how the 100 spots came to be. They saw Ziqin and the murderous people behind Ziqin. They didn't know Ziqin, but in the past few decades they had heard about him. For example, he could kill a rank 9s above his level, break through the absolute domain of the natives and the conflict between the Alliance and the Yu family a few years ago. It was obvious that the conflict in the past had evolved into a great battle today. The great battle had erupted today. The 100 most courageous people were the 100 who could survive the battle and get the spots in the end. As for the test, it was naturally to kill these people. At this moment, many people understood the Yu family's intentions, so they retreated without hesitation. They didn't think they could survive such a fierce battle. Compared to entering Heaven Road to become a divine king, they wanted to live more. Some chose to retreat, while others chose to stay. There was only one chance. Maybe they could get a spot if they fought for it. Of the hundreds of rank 9s, 60% left in an instant and 40% stayed. They stood guard outside the Alliance Chief residence, obviously planning to fight. Stop right there. One of the rank 9s shouted at Ziqin at the front. Ziqin naturally wouldn't stop. A light flashed in his hand, and a sheathed long saber appeared. Stop right there. If you don't stop, don't blame us for being rude. The rank 9s said coldly. A cold light flashed in Zi Chen's eyes, and the long saber in his hand was unsheathed instantly. The saber light flashed and swept forward. In the face of more than 100 powerhouses, Zi Chen naturally wouldn't hold back. He attacked with all his might. An air-splitting saber appeared. The speed of the saber was fast enough, and it swept past the opponent's body. Blood splattered. The rank 9s were separated from their battle armor, killed in one blow. There was an uproar all around. Among the remaining rank 9s, some immediately flew into the distance. Once they left, half of them were gone. There were still nearly 100 rank 9s left. Someone shouted, "Kill them, and the next spot will be ours. Enter Heaven Road and become a divine king." His words were loud and clear, but no one dared to step forward. When the group of elders at the back saw this scene, a satisfied expression appeared on their faces. The stronger Zi Chen's combat strength was, the greater their chances of success. Back off. Zi Chen walked to a few hundred feet away from the rank 9s and said, "After I kill you, Shiyu, I'll open Heaven Road. If you just want to enter Heaven Road and become a divine king, just step aside. If you continue to block the way, you'll die." The rank 9s' expressions changed again. Many of them stepped aside, leaving only a few dozen people. Zi Chen's sheathed long saber appeared again. Poof! Another rank 9s was killed in front. It had to be said that Zi Chen's combat strength had become more powerful after he had the custom-made battle armor. The strongest rank 9s were no longer a threat to him. Sheathing his long saber, he walked forward, his right hand on the saber hilt. When the other rank 9s saw this, they all retreated. After 2 attacks, he forced the crowd to retreat. The door of the Alliance Chief residence was empty. Zi Chen walked forward. During this time, no one dared to stop him. A ray of light flew out from his body and landed on the door of the Alliance Chief residence. The door opened with a bang. Zi Chen turned and walked through the door. His expression did not relax at all. Instead, it became more solemn, because those people outside were not people of the Alliance Chief residence at all. The real enemies were all in this residence. The moment Zi Chen entered the residence, a loud shout came from outside. "The Alliance Chief will deal with that person. If we kill the others, the spot will still be ours." Hearing this voice, Zi Chen knew that the team was in trouble. Chapter 2991. The moment of danger had arrived. Zi Chen's expression became very solemn. Listening to the battle cries outside and sensing the energy fluctuation, he did not retreat in the end. The Yu clan's move was brilliant. Not a single person from their side came, but they blocked all the people he brought outside. Now he went in alone and had to face all the Yu clan's powerhouses. In front of Zi Chen, 3 rank 9s appeared. They were all wearing custom-made armor. It was undeniable that they were once powerhouses on the list to be recruited by the Yu clan. Lightning flashed on Zi Chen's body as he rushed forward with a saber. Cold light shot out from the 3's eyes. Divine weapons appeared in their hands as they slashed at Zi Chen. The moment Zi Chen entered the Alliance Chief residence, at the highest point of the residence, Alliance Chief Yu Shiyu stood there and watched him. Beside him was Yu Wei, looking respectful. How many times do you think he can use that kind of move? Yu Shiyu asked, his voice indifferent. According to the information we received, no more than 10 times. Yu Wei said, even if he has improved over the years, he can only attack more than 20 times. At that time, he will definitely run out of energy and no longer have combat strength. If that's the case, why did he come here? In Yu Shiyu's eyes, Zi Chen had already attacked. His figure dodged and shifted, and 3 sabers appeared. 3 rank 9s fell and died. His combat strength was indeed powerful. Yu Wei also saw this scene and immediately said, He should be relying on his tyrannical battle strength to intimidate our people and directly deal with the Alliance Master. At this time, another 5 rank 9s appeared. Their expressions were cold. They did not show the slightest bit of fear because of the previous 3 deaths. As soon as they met, they attacked with their strongest moves. The wind and clouds above the Alliance Chief residence began to change. A terrifying aura filled every corner. The battle here was not like the outside world. Here, life and death were determined with one move. Therefore, everyone attacked with full strength, not daring to hold back. Under Yushiyu and Yuei's gaze, Zi-chun attacked 5 times. His speed was as if he teleported, dodging 5 attacks. He killed 5 rank 9s without a scratch. How many sabers? Yushiyu asked. 10 blades. Just as Yuei was replying, another rank 9s appeared ahead. This time there were a total of 10 rank 9s. Looking at the 10 9th rank martial artists, Yushiyu said, "If they also die, send our people." Yuei thought for a moment. With the death of these 10 people, Zi-chin had already struck out 20 times. When he was exhausted, the rest of them would take action, and they would definitely be able to kill them. As for him wanting to kill the Alliance leader, that was simply a joke. 10 rank 9s working together was naturally a super strong combat force. This time, the number of times Zi-chin attacked became much slower. He just kept dodging with extreme speed. The 10 rank 9s gave him quite a bit of pressure. His attacks had become extremely cautious, but every strike was still able to kill. Seeing this, Yuei's expression became very relaxed. This was because Zi-chen's actions clearly showed that he had expended a lot of energy. Chi! Chi! Saber after saber struck out one after another. The saber gleam like a waterfall swept past the rank 9's bodies one after another. These custom-made armors with extremely strong defense seemed to have lost their original defensive effect in front of Zi-chen's saber. One after another, the rank 9s fell and died. Yushiyu's expression did not change, but Yuei was extremely shocked. A mere rank 8s already had such strength. Once he advanced to rank 9s, wouldn't he be even stronger? This kind of combat force was definitely the first among the divine generals in this world. It would even pose a certain threat to the natives. In the blink of an eye, 20 blades had passed. 20 rank 9's divine generals had died. Has he exhausted his energy to the limit? Yuei looked at Zi-chin, whose expression did not change at all, and a trace of doubt appeared on his face. Last time, Zi-chan had only struck out a few times, and he had already expended a lot of energy. That time, Zi-chan had appeared to have expended a lot of energy because Zi-chan did not know anything about Sky Road City, let alone the power structure. Naturally, he had to hold back. This time, he came here only to kill Yushiyu. Naturally, he did not hold back. After killing 20 divine generals, Zi-chen's expression was still cold as he walked forward. Only one person appeared in front of him, not more people as Zi-chen had expected. The Yu family had recruited many rank 9's divine generals. There were at least 200 of them. So far, they had only sent out 18 before they stopped. The person in front of him was an aboriginal. He looked coldly at Zi-chen and said, "You must have expended a lot of energy. I'll kill you next." Zi-chen did not speak. He took a step forward. The ground around him trembled. The custom-made armor on his body shone. All the lines lit up, and an incomparably powerful aura surged. Yin and Yang energy and thunder energy filled his body at this moment. The aboriginal opposite him felt a suffocating aura coming at him. He knew very well that Zi-chen had killed an aboriginal before, so he could not be careless and held up his domain. This was an absolute domain. It could be used to refine weapons, and it could also restrain all the divine generals who came to this world. Standing in the absolute domain, the natives' confidence grew. Yushiyu and Yuei looked down from a high place. They saw Zi-chin instantly draw his saber. A bright light appeared in the entire Alliance leader residence. The light illuminated every corner, causing the entire Alliance leader residence to begin to glow. Amidst the bright light, the saber landed on the absolute domain. Swish! There was no strong energy collision, nor was there an energy explosion. The saber swept past the absolute domain and hit a building behind it. The building split apart and collapsed with a bang. A hint of surprise flashed across Yu Shiyu's eyes. Yu Wei's expression was full of shock. In front of Ziqin, the domain on the Aboriginal's body disappeared. His figure appeared with a bloody mark between his eyebrows. The bloody mark ran down from between his eyebrows and ran through his entire body. He stared at Ziqin with wide eyes, his eyes filled with disbelief. Ziqin walked forward. The Aboriginal fell to the ground and died. It only took one strike. The absolute domain was broken. This is impossible. Yu Wei cried out in surprise. Yu Shiyu smiled faintly and said, "Then let's wait and see." In the Alliance leader residence, a man who was sitting quietly opened his eyes and walked out. When he came to the door, he saw Ziqin. He unfolded his domain and rushed toward Ziqin. Ziqin drew his saber and slashed out. The saber light flashed, swept past the domain, swept past the body, and shattered another building. The second Aboriginal was killed in one strike. Ziqin's expression did not change. His aura was still calm, and he did not seem to have consumed a lot of energy. Then the third Aboriginal was killed. The fourth, fifth, and sixth Aboriginal were killed. This is impossible. Yu Wei almost roared. He could not believe what he had seen. Let's go and meet him. Chapter 2992. The battle outside the Alliance Chief Mansion was still going on. Powerful energy kept surging. Those grade 9 divine generals who were previously scared by Ziqin and did not dare to attack no longer had any scruples when facing Monk and the others. With the advantage of numbers, Ziqin's people gradually found it difficult to resist. But so far, no one had died in battle, because no one could break armor in a short time. There was almost no one as powerful as Ziqin who could break armor in an instant. Get lost! Black light lingered on Devil Ape's body, and he turned into a giant. The black rod in his hand suddenly smashed down. Lightning flashed on the pitch-black armor on his body from time to time. Their battle armors were infused with thunderstones. Boom! There was a huge shock of energy. A grade 9 was smashed back, but he was not injured. Devil Ape and the others had powerful combat strength. If they were in the divine realm, they would definitely be on the list of generals. However, many of these divine generals here were on the list. Even if some were not, with the absolute advantage of numbers, they were naturally not afraid of them. Therefore, the battle outside could not be decided for the time being. However, if it went on for too long, it would naturally be disadvantageous to Monk and the others. Kappa and the other elders were standing in the distance at this moment, but their attention was not here. The life and death of these people had nothing to do with them. What they cared about was the Alliance Chief Mansion. At this moment, they could sense everything that was happening in the Alliance Chief Mansion, and were very satisfied with it. After seeing the indigenous people being killed with one slash, they were extremely excited, as if they had seen hope. But at the same time, they were also deeply afraid. Next, Ziqin killed one indigenous person after another with one slash. This made them even more worried. Next, they saw Yishiyu appear. His body shone with a strong light as he used his domain. He should be fighting a life and death battle with Ziqin. After that, they could not see anything. Ziqin killed his way forward. He entered the Alliance Chief Mansion and saw Alliance Chief Yushiyu. This was the first time he saw him. Yushiyu was wearing a long robe and stood with his hands behind his back. He looked very elegant. Such a person did not look like a great evil person. When the other party appeared, they did not immediately engage in battle with Ziqin. Ziqin did not know what the elders outside saw. Yue stood beside Yushiyu and looked at Zichen nervously. You are the person with the strongest battle prowess that I have seen in all these years, Yu Shiyu said calmly. Zichen looked at the other party indifferently. His left hand gripped the scabbard tightly while his right hand gripped the saber hilt. Electric light surrounded his body. When Yue saw that Zichen was about to attack, a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. He wasn't sure if the Alliance Master could block this attack. Before we make a move, why don't we make a bet? Yu Shiyu's expression did not change. He did not raise his defense as he looked at Zichen. What kind of bet? The lightning on Zichen's body gradually receded. As the pressure around him dissipated, Yue heaved a sigh of relief. I'm not your only enemy. The elders behind you should count as well, right? Yu Shiyu said, if I'm not wrong, after you kill me, you will definitely return to kill them. Zichen did not say anything. His silence was a tacit agreement. I bet that after you leave, they will make the first move. Not only will they eliminate you, but they will also kill your friends, Yu Shiyu said. Such a bet is meaningless because you won't be able to see it no matter what, Zichen said indifferently. Yu Shiyu smiled and said, it seems like you are very confident in your combat strength. You should have expended a lot of energy in the battle, right? Our Yu family still has many experts. Furthermore, we have recruited many experts. The ones you killed earlier were less than 1/20th of them. Under such circumstances, do you think you still have the confidence to kill me? Zichen tightened his grip on his saber again and said coldly, but since you appeared, I don't need to fight anyone else. Yu Shiyu said, I appeared to make this bet with you. Or rather, this is a deal. If you do as I say, I'll give you a chance to have a fair battle. I won't use the human wave tactic again. At the same time, I can guarantee that Kong Hongya will remain alive while we fight. If you die, Kong Hongya's life and death will naturally have nothing to do with you. On the other hand, if you live, Kong Hongya will naturally live. Why should I believe you? Zichen asked coldly. You have no choice, right? Yu Shiyu said with a smile. Zichen thought for a moment before asking, what do you plan on getting me to do? We can put on a show and see what expressions those old fellows will have when they learn of my death, Yu Shiyu said. Yu Shiyu said, I really want to see this scene and then see their extreme joy turn to sorrow. Extreme joy turns to sorrow? Zichen frowned. You will know soon. Yu Shiyu smiled mysteriously. I don't like the layout of this Alliance Leader residence. Furthermore, it's too small. Treat it as part of the price. After this, I will expand this place and make it truly worthy of my identity. As soon as he finished speaking, a powerful aura was released from Yu Shiyu's body. In this aura, a wave spread out. Wherever the wave passed, the Alliance Leader residence began to collapse. In the blink of an eye, the Alliance Leader residence turned into ruins. Smoke and dust filled the sky. The battle in the surroundings stopped. Everyone looked at the collapsed Alliance Leader manor, their expressions constantly changing. After the Alliance Leader residence collapsed, no powerful aura continued to surge. Clearly, the battle had ended. However, who lived and who died? As they waited in a tense atmosphere, a person appeared in the smoke and dust. When they saw this person, the surroundings were filled with exclamations. Monk and the others revealed excited expressions. The person who appeared was Zichen. He was carrying a corpse in his hand. It was the dead Yu Shiyu. He walked out of the smoke and dust and said indifferently, Yu Shiyu is dead. Do you still want to fight? The expressions of the divine generals changed drastically as they retreated. Obviously, this result was unexpected. Recalling what Zichen had said earlier, their expressions were very ugly. It was obvious that they had lost this gamble. At this moment, Zichen's body was covered with a lot of smoke and dust. He looked very miserable, but he was not seriously injured. Monk and the others walked over excitedly. Obviously, everyone was safe. The crisis had been resolved just like that. Well done. Kappa and the other elders also stepped forward, and their expressions became very excited. Where's the Alliance leader? Kappa asked. He said he died a long time ago, Zichin said indifferently. When the elders heard this, their faces revealed regret, but there was unconcealable joy in their eyes. Where's the key? Kappa asked again. Zichin subconsciously glanced at Yushiyu's wrist. There was a spatial spirit bracelet there. Kappa laughed and said, Don't worry, we will definitely keep our word. Next, we will open the door to Heaven's path and let all of you in. Kappa took Yushiyu's corpse from Zichen's hands. Chapter 2993. The meaning of Kappa's words changed at the end. There was an uproar in the surroundings, as no one understood what Kappa meant. Go to hell. Kappa's previous smiling face was replaced by an incomparably cold and fierce look. Behind him, the two elders began to form hand seals. Kappa retreated to the rear, and the two elders who were forming hand seals followed him like shadows. Explode! The next moment, the seals fell and a loud shout rang out. Kappa sneered as he looked ahead, waiting for Zichen's group to be killed by the exploding armor. Zichen didn't react, and his friends were also standing there, their armor intact. I've already removed the self-destructing array inside. You guys are too evil. Kong, Emo walked over, his eyes red. Apparently, he already knew that his father was dead. At this time, he was also very angry. He didn't expect these elders to burn the bridge after crossing the river. Seeing that the armor didn't explode, Kappa was startled at first, but then a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. Zichin noticed the change in the other party's expression and had a bad feeling in his heart. He shouted, Not good, quickly! Before he could finish his words, the armor on their bodies suddenly began to shine, and the light enveloped their bodies. This scene looked as if they had activated the armor on their own and were preparing for battle. In fact, they didn't move at all. All of this was due to the armor changing on its own. The shining armor trapped this group of people like a domain, making them unable to move or mobilize the energy in their bodies. In addition, there was also a powerful devouring force that was devouring the energy in their bodies. What's going on? Kong Mo, who saw this scene from the front, cried out involuntarily and immediately ran over. Big brother, what happened? I can't move my body, Zichin said, and my energy is also flowing away. Kong, Mo, was so scared that his face turned pale. He said in a panic, How can this be? I clearly checked it before, and there was no problem. Kappa snorted coldly and said, Checked? What's your check? Do you really think you're a great genius? That self-destructing rune formation was deliberately shown to you. Otherwise, how could you be so careless? The crowd was in an uproar. Clearly, no one had expected these natives to be so shameless as to deliberately tamper with the armor, and not just in one place. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too greedy. Not only did you not ask for one set of armor, you even asked for dozens of sets. Why don't you think about it? I only asked you to kill Yushiyu, but you actually dared to ask for such an exorbitant price. You deserve this. Kappa glanced at Zichin and coldly said, Next, all you need to do is wait for the energy in your body to be completely devoured by the armor. When that time comes, we can easily kill you. As for now, someone, you guys are really shameless. Before Kappa could finish his words, a cold voice suddenly rang out. There were many powerful auras in the crowd. These auras were all rank 9, and the one in the lead was Wei Li. In a flash, he came to Zichen's side. The dozens of rank 9s who had arrived stood around them, protecting Zichin and his friends. It's you. What do you want? Kappa naturally knew Wei Li. He was the first person on the Outer Realms general list, and all the forces wanted to recruit him. Burning the bridge after crossing the river. You guys are too shameless. Wei Li looked at Kappa and said indifferently, Shameless? Wei Li, Is there something wrong with your brain? Now that the key is in my hands, how dare you talk to me like this? Believe it or not, I'll make you stay here forever, Ka-Pa threatened. Stay here forever? You'll have to kill Zichen first. Wei Li turned around, and a long saber appeared in his hand. He slashed at Zichen. This slash was ferocious, and a powerful aura raged. The blade fell on Zichen's body, and when it met the light, a powerful force exploded. Zichen was pushed back more than 10 feet by this force, but the light on the surface of his body did not disappear. It's useless. We used the best materials for this armor, and even used the absolute field technique. How can you break it? Ka-Pa looked at the other people who had attacked with sarcasm. They had all returned empty-handed. Then he turned his head to look at the rank 9 martial artists around him and said loudly, "All of you listen up. Now that the key is in my hands, if you want to leave, kill these people now. This is also a test for you. I'm a merciful person. This time, the quota is 110 people." As Ka-Pa's voice fell, the faces of the heavenly generals around him turned ugly. Obviously, they had just escaped from the wolf's den and fell into the tiger's mouth. None of them were good. Alliance Master, you already guessed it? In another space, Yue and Yushiu looked at this scene, and Yue asked curiously. Yushiu smiled faintly and said, "I'm too familiar with the greedy nature of these old guys. As long as Zichen succeeds, they will definitely find a way to eliminate him. Because Zichen can kill me, he can also kill them. At the same time, it's also because they want to get the key alone and firmly pin down these experts in the future." Next to him, Yue smiled and said, "In this way, Zichen and the others will definitely be killed by them. Alliance Master can eliminate Zichen without having to fight at all. This method is naturally good. However, when Zichen dies, will he tell them that Alliance Master is not dead? In this way, maybe they will let Zichen go out of fear. Of course not. In this situation, once they let Zichen go, the first few people that Zichen will kill will be the few of them. They would rather kill Zichen and then negotiate with me than let Zichen go. Moreover, I don't believe that Zichen can escape." Yushiu smiled. His smile was very mysterious, but Yue still had questions to ask, but Yushiu lost interest in answering. He said faintly, "Just watch quietly and you'll know." Yue nodded and said no more. At this time, Zichen spoke again. "Wei Li, you guys retreat first. Don't worry about us. Before the energy is exhausted, we are not safe for the time being. Leave. It's too late. These people must die." Kappa said coldly, "Now there are 110 spots. Whoever wants them, kill them." When they couldn't break the absolute domain to deal with these damn natives, everyone wanted the 110 spots. After a short hesitation, the battle broke out again. The energy surged, and Kappa was very satisfied. At this time, Zichen tried to mobilize the world, but found that the world was forcibly suppressed by the power of the domain and could not be unfolded. Chapter 2994. Zichen tried to open his world but found that it did not work. At this moment, he seemed to be standing in an absolutely isolated domain. This domain even suppressed his world. His world could not be opened, so he could not take everyone in. Zichen's expression became gloomy. Obviously, he did not expect to encounter such a scheme. However, he did not blame Kappa. He could only blame himself for not having the ability. This was a battle of interests to begin with. It depended on who would have the last laugh. Right now, not only did he have to think of a way to escape, but he also had to save his friends as soon as possible. Now that the energy was dissipating very quickly, his only way was to forcefully break through this domain. How could he break through this domain when the energy was constantly dissipating? The answer was to become stronger. His thunder physique began to activate. A powerful force surged. A part of the force dissipated, while the other part formed an attack, trying to break through the armor. During this period, too much energy was lost, causing the attack to be very weak. It was impossible to break through the armor. Under such circumstances, he could only become stronger. At this moment, although he could not enter the world, he could still mobilize the energy in the world. His spiritual senses quickly swept through the world and arrived above a thunderstone. There were many thunderstone here, tens of thousands of them. Explode! His spiritual senses landed on it, and he gave the order. Waves of rule power fell from the sky and landed on those thunderstone. In the next moment, tens of thousands of thunderstone exploded. The exploded thunderstone turned into a surge of energy that raged like a destructive storm and began to spread. A spatial vortex suddenly appeared and enveloped all the energy. In the next moment, this energy channel vortex arrived outside Zi-Chen's body, which was the domain in the light of the armor. Zi-Chen's thunder physique began to operate, absorbing this energy. At the same time, the armor was also absorbing this energy. Both sides were fighting to see who could absorb faster. In fact, at this moment, Zi-Chen had another way to escape, which was to let the armor domain continuously absorb energy until it was full. He had a world to maintain, and there was endless energy inside, so he was not afraid of consumption at all. However, Zi-Chen was not sure if the armor domain would disappear after the energy was full. If it could not disappear on its own, then he would still be passive. At that time, because he had wasted a lot of time, perhaps something would have happened to his friends. Therefore, he chose this method of forcibly breaking through. Endless lightning energy entered his body and was refined by the thunder physique. It began to strengthen his physical body. Under the onslaught of this violent energy, his body was enduring indescribable pain. The energy from before quickly disappeared under the plundering of both parties. 60% of the energy was absorbed by the armor, and the remaining 40% was absorbed by the lightning body. Explode again! Zi-Chen's spiritual force landed on the second pile of thunderstones. As the nomological laws descended, these thunderstones exploded once again. The number of thunderstones this time was even more than the previous time, and the energy formed was also extremely terrifying. Under normal circumstances, Zi-Chen definitely wouldn't have made such a choice. This was because the energy his thunder physique was absorbing wasn't carefully refined at all. It would be very detrimental to his future cultivation. Now that their lives were in danger, he couldn't care less. He had to think of a way to break through and leave this place first. More thunderstones exploded, and the thunder physique crazily absorbed this energy. His aura began to strengthen. At this moment, Tyrant and the others had restrained their auras and cultivation methods. Although they still couldn't stop the armor from absorbing energy, the speed of absorption had obviously slowed down. When the armor territory was formed, they wouldn't be in danger. Hence, they weren't in a hurry at this moment. Su Mengyao, who was trapped in the armor, didn't panic at all. The spirit devouring grass that she had subdued last time had already planted its roots on the armor, and it began to absorb the armor's energy. There was obviously a reason why Kong, M.O., was so afraid of it back then. Not only was the absolute territory formed by the armor unable to devour its energy, but it was also devouring it now. She believed that it wouldn't be long before it finished devouring all the energy and broke the armor. However, the armor territory prevented voice transmissions. She couldn't tell Zi-Chen about this. The surroundings became very quiet, and the atmosphere was very oppressive. The dozens of people who were waiting for death didn't feel the slightest bit of panic. Instead, they were very calm. The rank 9s who were attacking Wei Li and the others had stopped fighting and retreated one after another. This was because they saw Zi-Chen releasing a strong light in the light of the armor. Occasionally, a powerful aura would surge out through the absolute territory. They knew very well how strong Zi-Chen was. If he really broke the armor and came out, it would be a disaster for them. Wei Li and the others obviously noticed this too. Hence, they all stood beside Zi-Chen and the others to protect them. Kappa looked ahead, and his face became very ugly. Behind him, the other elders' faces were filled with fear. If Zi-Chen really broke the armor and came out with his combat strength, not only would they die, but their families would also be wiped out. Kappa said coldly, "Increase the devouring power." The two behind him formed seals again and began to control Zi-Chen's armor together, increasing its devouring speed. Zi-Chen's spiritual thoughts scanned the world, and more thunderstones exploded. He had obtained a lot of thunderstones last time, and there were also many from the rank 9s he had killed. Hence, even if they increased the devouring speed of the armor, Zi-Chen still wasn't worried about the lack of energy. In Kappa's mansion, a god general in armor stood. He stood in the largest courtyard with a cold expression. At this moment, above the mansion, there was a huge light shield enveloping the entire mansion. Screams and shouts could be heard constantly, but they couldn't reach the outside world. "How dare you come here and behave so atrociously? You're courting death." A loud roar was heard, accompanied by a powerful vibration. A rank 9s broke through the courtyard and crashed at the feet of the god general. He spat out blood, and the armor on his body shattered. His aura dissipated. A rank 9s was killed. The god general raised his head and saw an aboriginal charging at him with a face full of anger. "You despicable fellow, don't you know that we're born to counter you?" Hearing this, the god general sneered. He raised his right hand, and there was a beam of light in his hand. This beam of light was black, like a small snake, and it was constantly twisting. The aboriginal charged at him, and in between he activated his territory and held a heavy hammer in his hand. The god general released his palm, and the twisting black light immediately flew toward the aboriginal. His absolute territory couldn't withstand a single blow from this black light, and it was instantly pierced through. Immediately after, the black light that pierced through the absolute territory pierced through the aboriginal's head. This powerful aboriginal was dead, and the black light also dissipated. Lights flashed all around, and more rank 9s arrived. "All dead?" the god general asked indifferently. "Yes," the rank 9s all around answered. "Take away all the resources and then destroy this mansion." In the next moment, this mansion collapsed and endless smoke and dust filled the air. The light shield above disappeared, and the group walked toward the Alliance Master Mansion. Chapter 2995. Zi-Chen's aura was getting stronger and stronger, and the two elders were about to lose control of their armor. In the distance, the rank 9s who had participated in the battle earlier retreated even faster, and many of them had already left in a hurry. If Zi-Chen held a grudge, they would be in danger. Zi-Chen's swift blade was unstoppable. The other elders looked at Kappa, and their expressions were getting worse. Kappa wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead, looked at Zi-Chen in front of him, and said, "Zi-Chen, can we discuss this again?" Zi-Chen did not speak. At this moment he was shrouded in the power of thunder, and he was devouring it wholeheartedly. At the same time, he was also fighting with the armor for resources. He had no chance to speak, and he did not want to waste time. This was because when Kappa was speaking, he did not stop the armor, but increased the devouring power. Seeing that Zi-Chen did not speak, Kappa became more nervous. Then his gaze shifted, and he said, "I'll let you and your friend out, then let you leave, and we'll write off the grudge between us. How about that?" There was an uproar all around again. Kappa was obviously afraid and had given in, and was going through the final negotiation. "Old thing, do you think that's possible?" Zi-Chen did not speak. The one who spoke was Monk. He looked at Kappa through the light shield of the armor and sneered, "Burning the bridge, after crossing the river, you're dead meat." Kappa's expression became gloomy, and he shouted, "Then we'll kill Kong Mo first and drag him down with us. Go and capture him." Kappa's voice fell, and he realized that no one moved. The god generals he had recruited had retreated at some point. At this moment, the only ones standing next to him were the dozen or so elders. Kappa said unhappily, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and capture Kong Mo." At this moment, Kong Mo was beside Zichin, protected by Wei Li and the others. The other elders did not move, and their expressions were changing. Kappa was angry. "What? You want to draw a line with me too? Let me tell you, if Zichin comes out, none of you can escape." The elders' faces showed a touch of determination, and they immediately went toward Kong Mo, who was protected by the other rank 9s. Right at this moment, a powerful aura came from afar. One after another, figures of light flew over. Seeing these 9th grade divine generals, the expressions of the surrounding people changed. They had already recognized that these people were experts who had been recruited by the Yu family. However, Yu Shiyu had already been killed by Zichin. Why would they appear here? Could it be that they weren't in the Alliance Head residence earlier? Yu Shiyu didn't send them to stop Zichin. These people were surging with terrifying killing intent, as if they had just returned from a great battle. Kappa seemed to have thought of something as his face instantly turned pale. He cried out involuntarily, "Where are you from?" The general said, "Your family." His gaze then landed on the elders as he said indifferently, "And your families." When the elders heard this, their vision darkened and they almost fell to the ground. While they were watching the show, their families had already been annihilated. "Impossible. With just you guys?" Karpus said in a cold voice, "You lowly creatures have no way of breaking our absolute domain. Otherwise, you would have been in charge here." This was common knowledge, and the main reason why the divine generals who came here had always been suppressed by the natives. When the divine generals heard this, they sneered and didn't say anything. Karpus said indifferently, "Now that Yu Shiyu is dead, if you pledge your loyalty to me, I'll give you a chance to leave. Otherwise, you'll be trapped here forever." The divine general's response was to sneer. Looking at everyone's expressions, Karpa felt that something was wrong and immediately grabbed the bracelet of the corpse. Swoosh! The bracelet in his hand flickered with light. His soul probed it and saw something shining. It was a key. His face immediately lit up with surprise. At this moment, the bracelet suddenly turned into a ray of light and disappeared. The surprise on Karpa's face froze, and his expression turned ugly. How could something that was in his hands disappear? At this moment, there was a sudden cracking sound. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw a crack appear on a person's armor. The crack spread to the extreme and exploded. The armor was torn apart, and a person walked out. She was dressed in white and was spotless. There was a ball of green light in her palm. The green light was a plant. At this moment, it was swaying gently. The first one to come out wasn't Zichin, but a woman. This caused the crowd in the distance to be astonished. When the elders saw this scene, their faces were filled with disbelief. One of them exclaimed, "It's the spirit devouring grass." The other divine generals didn't recognize the spirit devouring grass, but the other party could break the armor domain. At this time, the elders were so nervous. Obviously, it was not an ordinary plant. The spirit devouring grass in Su Mingyao's hand trembled slightly and flew into the air. The next moment, the green light skyrocketed. Its roots began to spread and fell on the other people's bodies. The roots were like the sharpest weapon in the world, easily sinking into the armor. The next moment, an even more intense light shone. The spirit devouring grass began to devour the energy in the armor. How can they have the spirit devouring grass? In that space, after Yu Wei saw the spirit devouring grass, his expression changed drastically like the elders. There was even a touch of horror in his eyes. Before Zichen's arrival, the only thing in this world that could break the absolute domain was the spirit devouring grass. However, this kind of thing was very rare and could even be said to be invisible. It could only be seen in their awakened memories. He didn't expect to see it today. Interesting. Yu Shiyu looked at the spirit devouring grass with a faint smile on his face. It looks like it has been awakened. Can the spirit devouring grass be awakened? Yue Wei asked curiously. Just like us, the spirit devouring grass will awaken in a certain period of time. Once it succeeds, the following path will be smooth. There is even a chance for it to transform and become the spirit devouring king. Yu Shiyu looked at the spirit devouring grass that had taken root in the armor and then at the elders. He said, now it has been awakened once and has gone very far. Maybe it can really become the spirit-devouring king. Just as Yu Shiyu was speaking, the elders rushed forward. They unfolded their domain and released a powerful aura. They wanted to stop this. At the same time, the spirit-devouring grass was a good thing. Whoosh! 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 Just as they were rushing forward, roots extended from the spirit-devouring grass and swept towards the elders. The roots pierced into the elders' absolute domain and then began to extract the energy. At the same time, the elders' bodies became immobile. After seeing this, Yu Shiyu's face revealed a touch of surprise. Interesting. It has grown to this extent. If it wasn't for the suppression of the rules of this world, it might have been promoted and become the spirit-devouring king. The elders who were rooted by the spirit-devouring grass couldn't move at all. It was as if they were frozen. Chapter 2996. Many people were moved by Kappa's words, but still, no divine generals stepped forward. The spirit-devouring grass could break through the battle armor domain, so it was indeed extraordinary. These people wanted to get it, but before that they needed to consider whether they could keep their lives after getting it. No one could block Zi Chen's terrifying saber. Damn it! Kappa's expression changed when he saw that those people did not dare to appear. However, they could not move at all at this moment, so they were naturally in danger. At this moment, a powerful aura appeared from afar. It was some natives. It's the Yu family. Seeing those natives, someone exclaimed loudly. Alliance Master Yu Shiyu was from the Yu family, but the Alliance Master residence did not represent the entire Yu family. It was Yu Shiyu's exclusive place. The Yu family had another residence. When Zichen attacked, the Yu family did not come. Now that Yu Shiyu was dead, it seemed strange that these people came. The leader was an old man. He said to Kappa, "Do you want to take our Yu family's things?" He raised the light bracelet in his hand and sneered. Kappa's expression became extremely ugly. It was originally his, but he did not expect the other party to take it away. Alliance Master? Yu Wei looked at the Alliance Master beside him in surprise. Previously, he thought that the Alliance Master had taken the bracelet. After all, it was a real bracelet, and the key inside was real. When he made the deal with Zichen, he directly took off the bracelet and removed the ownership of it. Yu Shiyu smiled mysteriously. In Yu Wei's eyes, it was even a little sinister. Bring me my spirit-devouring grass. The old man from the Yu family who had the bracelet laughed confidently. The others rushed forward towards the spirit-devouring grass. Buzz! The spirit-devouring grass trembled in midair, and its roots expanded again. It separated in midair and took root in the natives' domain. The divine generals who had previously destroyed the other families did not make a move at this moment. They all retreated. A battle of this level was not something they could participate in. The Yu family members who were rushing over were also frozen by the spirit-devouring grass. They could not move at all. Obviously, everything in the world had a counter. This plant, which was very unfamiliar to everyone, had such a method to completely restrain the natives. Humph! The old man from a Yu family stood in the distance and snorted in dissatisfaction. Use your full strength. As his voice fell, a black light appeared in the hands of the aboriginals. The rhizomes were struck by the black light, and as if they had met their nemesis, they immediately retracted and the light dimmed. These people from the Yu clan regained their freedom. They looked at Kappa and the other elders not far away. their faces full of ridicule. Seeing the Aboriginals push back the spirit-devouring grass and approach, Su Mengyao waved her hand and a mysterious energy wave swept forward. Following the energy wave, the Aboriginals all retreated. Her white robes fluttered gently as she stood there. Her body was enveloped in a hazy and mysterious radiance, blocking the Yu family's people. The faces of the Yu family's Aboriginals that were knocked back turned ugly. They rushed forward again. During this time, their bodies glowed with light as they activated their domains. Light flew out from Su Mingyao's body, forming a light barrier that enveloped the surroundings. Those Aboriginals rush over. Under the suppression of the field, the light shield Su Mengyao has created is slowly shrinking. At this time, Zichen was completely shrouded in lightning. During this time, he had consumed countless thunderstones. Fortunately, he had obtained a lot over the years and was not worried about such consumption. His physical body became stronger, and his aura became more violent. He was on the verge of a breakthrough. He opened his eyes and looked at the outside world through the light shield. There was a great battle going on. A group of indigenous people were fighting against Su Mengyao. At this time, Su Mingyao's body was glowing. She could not hold on for long against more than 10 people. The other divine generals in the surroundings were shocked. This beautiful woman actually had such means. It was as if the field that the indigenous people had against divine generals did not exist. Bang! After a series of clashes, the light shield Su Mengyao formed was broken. Her body flew backward, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Su Mengyao was already extraordinary to be able to hold on for so long with her 8th grade strength. All of you, go away! Looking at the indigenous people rushing forward, Kang Emo shouted. He stood in front of Su Mengyao and activated his field. Those indigenous people's fields pressed down, creating a strong collision of energy. With a roar, Kang Mo's field was instantly shattered and he flew backward. Whoosh! Whoosh! Rays of light shot out from the spirit devouring grass. Like chains, they wrapped around those indigenous people. These indigenous people's bodies flickered with black light. These rays of light immediately retreated. The old man behind looked at this scene proudly. He was determined to get the spirit devouring grass. At this time, there was a loud bang. It was an armor field that collapsed. A strong aura surged in the surroundings. Boundless lightning flashed, and Zichen's figure appeared. At this moment, a strong aura that only a 9th grade martial artist could have erupted from his body. He had reached the true peak, the peak combat strength that this world could accommodate. Not bad. In the space, Yushiu looked at this scene and nodded with satisfaction. Yu Wei was puzzled by the Alliance Master's attitude. Zichen was an enemy. Shouldn't he feel troubled at this time? Seeing Zichen appear, the others were shocked. Those indigenous people from the Yu family stopped subconsciously. They had been watching the previous battle and knew how strong their opponent was. Now that he had broken through to the 9th grade, his combat strength was obviously stronger. What are you waiting for? Why aren't you killing him? The old man behind him shouted again. These indigenous people who had stopped previously had black energy flowing in their hands again. This energy was very terrifying. They held the black energy in their hands and rushed toward Zichen. Zichen glanced at them indifferently. A long saber appeared in his left hand. The next moment, violent lightning erupted. He unsheathed his saber. Whoosh! The saber arc swept forward and swept past a few people in front. The power of lightning flowed on the saber blade, and countless lightning snakes surged. The black light in the indigenous people's hands was instantly annihilated by the lightning. At the same time, the saber blade swept past his absolute field, broke the field, and swept past their bodies. They died. This time it was not like before, where one of them died, but several of them died. Obviously, after reaching the 9th grade, Zichen's combat strength had become more powerful. The other indigenous people in the distance were frightened and retreated one after another. Zi-Chin unsheathed the long saber that he had just sheathed. Whoosh! The saber light flashed again, and several indigenous people were killed. This kind of method that was close to a massacre made everyone's expression change drastically. Kappa and the elders were even more frightened. At the same time, their hearts were filled with self-blame and regret. However, at this moment they were fixed in place by the roots of the spirit devouring grass and could not move their bodies at all. Zi-Chin turned around and stared at them indifferently, a cold light shooting out from his eyes. Not bad. At this moment, Yushiyu's voice sounded and his figure appeared. Chapter 2997. Zi-Chan walked out of the ruined Alliance Master Mansion with Yushiyu's corpse. Everyone thought that the Alliance Master was dead. Everyone was very surprised, but they weren't too surprised. The battle prowess Zi-Chan displayed was too tyrannical. He could kill the natives, so it seemed reasonable for the Alliance Master to be killed. Next, Kappa turned against them without hesitation. He wanted to use the armor to devour their energy and kill Zi-Chin and the others. In the end, before Zi-Chin and the others died, they lost their families and became wandering ghosts. Then, a woman with a spirit devouring grass broke out of the armor domain. Then, the Yu family snatched Yushiyu's jade bracelet. After that, Kappa and the others were trapped by the spirit devouring grass. Zi-Chan was the last to rush out. They thought that everything was over, but they didn't expect Alliance Master Yushiyu to appear again. Looking at Zi-Chen's expression, he didn't seem surprised at all. Kappa and the others complained incessantly, their hearts filled with regret. The Yu family members' expressions also changed drastically. They looked at Yushiyu, who was still alive. Not only were they not happy, but their faces were also filled with horror. After Yushiyu came out, he looked at Kappa and asked with a smile, "Are you surprised by this result?" Kappa turned around and stared at Zi-Chin. He said angrily, "You took my cultivation resources and colluded with him." Zi-Chan replied indifferently, "It's not colluding. It's a deal." At the same time, he looked at Kong Mo and said, "Don't worry. Your father is fine for the time being." This sudden surprise made Kong Mo a little overwhelmed and didn't know how to respond. Yushiyu said indifferently he's fine for the time being, but it doesn't mean he'll be fine forever. He turned to look at the Yu family members in the distance and said, "You guys are also very good. Although you used my orders to transfer my people away, leaving me with no one to use, you still did what I wanted to do. There are too many aristocratic families here. I should have wiped out some of them long ago." Previously, Yushiyu said that he had many people to send, but Zi-Chin only killed a few dozen before he appeared. Now it seemed that those people had been secretly transferred away by the other Yu family members. It was clear that the Yu clan wasn't completely united either. Yushiyu waved his hand, and the bracelet flew back and reappeared on his wrist. The expressions of the Yu family members kept changing. Yushiyu looked at Zi-Chin and said, "Are you going to fight now or wait for them to appear?" Zi-Chin said, "Let's talk about it later." Yushiyu smiled and said, "That's great. These people are of great help to the growth of the spirit devouring grass." As soon as Yushiyu finished speaking, the roots of the spirit devouring grass extended again and landed directly on the absolute territory of the other Yu clan members, including the elder from the Yu clan. Yushiyu did not stop them. He watched quietly. It was obvious that he wanted to kill them as well. Zi-Chin looked at Yushiyu in confusion, as if asking why he was helping them. Yushiyu smiled and said, "Don't misunderstand. When you die, these people will naturally die too. The spirit devouring grass will be mine. Since it's mine, I'm letting it grow ahead of time. Is there a problem?" Zi-Chin said in a deep voice, "You're too confident." Yushiyu said with a smile, "If you were to meet me when you were rank 8, you would definitely die. If it's a rank 9, there's still a chance." Zi-Chan was a little surprised when he heard this, but he did not believe it. "Yushiyu, You will definitely die a horrible death." The elder from the Yu clan, who was frozen by the spirit devouring grass, said resentfully. Yu Shiyu glanced at the elder and said, "Next, I will use your people to continue cultivating the spirit devouring grass. They are my clansmen, but they are also your clansmen." The elder from the Yu clan said resentfully, "How can you be so heartless?" Yu Shiyu smiled faintly and said, "Haven't you already given up on me? Why should I still treat you as my clansmen?" The surrounding divine generals were silent. In this battle, these elders clearly no longer had the advantage and had become complete losers. The next winner was either Ziqin or Yu Shiyu. They naturally hoped that Ziqin could win, but looking at the confident Yu Shiyu, it was obvious that he could not be underestimated. Kappa and the others did not speak at this time. Clearly, they knew that they had failed this time, but they seemed to have a backbone. However, the bigger reason was that they knew that they definitely could not live, even if they begged for mercy. Pa! 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 Not long after, the armored domain on the monk and the others shattered. They walked out of it. Except for a lot of energy, they had no other injuries. Seeing that everyone came out intact, Ziqin breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. However, he did not immediately fight. Instead, he waited for these natives to die. At the same time, he also seized the little time to carefully familiarize himself with his current physical strength. Yu Shiyu understood, but he did not point it out. Just like that, 2 hours passed. One after another, the domains were broken. At the moment when the domains were broken, all the natives seemed to have been seriously injured and became very weak. At the same time, they seemed to have lost their souls, because their domains were not broken by force, but forcibly devoured. Even if they were alive, there was no possibility for them to use it again. Under such circumstances, they were no different from ordinary people. What's more, they would not be alive. In the next moment, their bodies turned into countless light spots and dissipated. After all the natives disappeared, the spirit devouring grass emitted a jade-like light and flew to Su Mengyao's side. Su Mengyao stretched out her hand, and it fell into her palm. It was not until the spirit devouring grass disappeared that everyone retracted their gazes and looked shocked. Obviously, in addition to Ziqin, this white-clothed woman also had means to restrain the natives. Su Mengyao looked back at Ziqin with a questioning look in her beautiful eyes. Ziqin shook his head at her, indicating that he did not need her help. "Let's go." Yu Shiyu turned around and walked toward the ruins. This time, Yue did not follow. He was the only living native here. Ziqin walked toward the ruins. Behind him, his friends looked at him worriedly. "Don't worry, I'll definitely survive," Ziqin said in a deep voice. It was unknown whether he was saying this to others, himself, or both. When they arrived at the ruins, a space appeared. The two of them walked into this space, one after the other. This space was very large. In the corner, there was a glowing door. Yu Shiyu said, "Kong Hongye is locked inside. As long as you kill me, you can save him." Of course, this is completely impossible. Ziqin was silent. The aura on his body began to surge. Ordinary probing is meaningless. Show your strongest combat power. Otherwise, you will die miserably. A light appeared on Yu Shiyu's body. It was a black light that released a powerful aura. If the natives used a wisp of black energy to deal with the spirit devouring grass, then the black energy on Yu Shiyu's body was a combination of countless wisps. Ziqin was no stranger to this kind of black energy. In the area where he obtained the thunder body, in addition to the terrifying thunder energy, there was also a kind of black energy. Chapter 2998. It's familiar, isn't it? Seeing the change in Ziqin's expression, Yu Shiyu said, "Isn't it familiar?" Ziqin nodded, but he didn't think that Yu Shiyu had obtained the inheritance of the black energy when he had obtained the thunder body. That was because Yushiyu had been the leader for many years and had never appeared in that area. Now he understood why Yushiyu had said that he would definitely die as a level 8. Since it could appear in the same place as the power of thunder, it was obviously an energy of the same attribute as the power of thunder. Let's do it. One of us will die today. Yushiyu said indifferently, this is fate. Zichen didn't know what fate was, but he knew that he had to live because many people were worried about him and waiting for him. Not only did he have to get out alive, but he also had to save Kong Mo's father. Zichen unsheathed the long saber with a sheathed saber in his hand. The space suddenly lit up. The saber tore through the air. The powerful saber swept forward at an extremely fast speed, with a black mark on its surface. Compared to the saber tore through the air that had killed the natives, Zichen's saber was naturally stronger. That was because he had advanced from level 8 to level 9. Swish! Yushiyu looked at the saber that could easily wipe out the indigenous people and felt the terrifying pressure around him. A faint smile appeared on Yushiyu's face. His body flickered with black light as he easily broke free from the pressure and disappeared. The saber tore through the afterimage and missed. Looking at the scattered afterimage, Zichen's expression was slightly serious. This was the first person to avoid his saber tore through the air so far. In addition to the terrible power of his saber tore through the air, its greater function was to seal the space. Obviously, it was ineffective at this moment. Black light flickered, and Yushiyu appeared behind Zichen. A cold smile appeared at the corners of his mouth, and the black energy became violent. Zichen didn't sheath the long saber in his hand. He turned around and slashed horizontally. The power of thunder poured into the saber, releasing the bright light of thunder. Rumbling sounds came from all around, and countless thunderbolts were violent. Yushiyu's fist smashed forward. Black energy swirled around the surface of his fist, emitting a suffocating aura. With a loud boom, a powerful shockwave spread out in all directions, stirring up countless ripples that rolled into the distance. Yushiyu's body retreated. Every step he took caused the void to vibrate. After retreating 5 steps, his body disappeared into thin air. Seeing Yushiyu disappear, Zichen's expression did not change. He turned around and slashed again. The thunderblade had destroyed an afterimage. It was not the real body. The power of thunder surged out from Zichen's body. He turned around again and continued slashing down with a saber. The saber's speed was even faster than before, and it was invincible. Whoosh! What was destroyed was still an afterimage. A mocking smile appeared on Zichen's face after several strikes missed. Competing in speed, lightning flashed on his body and his figure disappeared. In terms of speed, who could be faster than the world's fastest speed? The two of them turned into rays of light, flashing in this space as they chased each other. When their figures appeared from time to time, sharp saber lights would appear, mixed with whistling fist lights. Zichen attacked with his saber. Every saber strike was a saber strike that split the air. Every saber strike was also at full strength. He slashed out more than a dozen times in a row. These more than a dozen saber lights cut through the sky, leaving white streaks that resembled waterfalls. His speed was very fast, but Yushiyu was not slow either. The flashing black fist lights were also very terrifying. During this period, only one of Zichen's more than a dozen saber strikes hit Yushiyu, but it was easily blocked. Energy vibrated, and the space began to distort. An even stronger wave spread out. Zichen and Yushiyu were both pushed back. Zichen's face was slightly pale. Yushiyu's breathing also quickened. He looked at Zichen and said, "This is more interesting." As a rank 9, Zichen had not suppressed his opponent. If he was only a rank 8, he might not be able to defeat Yushiyu. Buzz! The light of energy flickered behind Zichen, and the heavenly thunder wings appeared. The surging lightning made him look like a god of war. After coming to this world, He rarely used the heavenly thunder wings. Every time he used it, it was when he was in danger. Whoosh! After using the heavenly thunder wings, his speed soared again, making Yu Shiyu almost invisible. Bang! With a loud bang, Yu Shiyu's body was pushed back. Zichen stood where he was originally standing. In the next moment, Zichen's figure disappeared again. Then, a sharp saber light appeared beside Yu Shiyu. A domain appeared around him, bringing with it a terrifying pressure. Accompanied by an energy boom, Yu Shiyu was pushed back again. Zichen's figure also retreated. In the domain, Yu Shiyu said indifferently, "You can't defeat me like this." As he spoke, black light erupted from his body like a rumbling storm. He charged at Zichen. Zichen held his saber and slashed down, using his strongest strength. Boom! The energy collided wildly. The saber light shattered, and Zichen's body was sent flying. Buzz! Ripples appeared in the space. 8 saber ancestor steels appeared, forming a saber domain. At the same time, the power of rules fell from above Zichen, enveloping Yu Shiyu. These were the rules that extended from his world. They were all negative and had a strong, suppressive effect. However, as soon as these rules fell on Yu Shiyu, they were enveloped by countless black energy that looked like small snakes. In the next moment, these rules were annihilated. This was the first time Zichen had encountered a situation where the world's rules were restrained. He was very surprised. At this time, the saber domain had taken shape. He slashed down with his saber. 8 saber intents appeared from the saber ancestor steels and landed on the saber light, making it stronger. Seeing the saber light coming, Yu Shiyu shouted coldly and punched out. Bang! The saber light exploded in midair. Yu Shiyu's body retreated in the air. The black light around his fist was cut off. After fighting for so long, Zichen finally broke through his defense. Yu Shiyu's face became gloomy. He retreated again. As he retreated, he quickly formed a seal. Endless black light lingered around his body. Zichen stood where he was and did not pursue. Different energies appeared in his hands. Yin and Yang energies converged in front of him, constantly changing. Finally, they turned into a thunder lotus. The thunder lotus began to accumulate power, emitting powerful fluctuations. A roar came from the front. A black behemoth appeared and flew toward Zichen. The thunder lotus in front of Zichen was emitting a dark, dual-colored light. It spun and flew forward. As it moved forward, the thunder lotus began to expand. Its aura became more and more terrifying. The black behemoth approached the thunder lotus. Its body distorted with the fluctuations. Its powerful claws slammed down. Boom! There was a roar in the space. The thunder lotus was shattered. The dual-colored energy contained in it exploded instantly, forming a destructive fluctuation that enveloped the black behemoth. Yu Shiyu maintained his domain. Black energy flowed on the surface of his body, blocking the impact of this terrifying energy. Chapter 2999. Yu Shiyu's expression turned ugly after failing to gain the slightest advantage over Zichen in a series of attacks. Although he already had a certain understanding of Zichen's combat strength, Zichen was much more powerful than he had imagined when it came to a real battle. Energy raged in front of him. In the blade domain, Zichen drew his saber again and slashed forward. The violent energy was split in half by the saber light. Yu Shiyu clenched his fist and attacked. His fist was completely shrouded in black energy. The aura of this punch was terrifying. Boom! A huge vibration was heard again, and Yu Shiyu was pushed back. At that moment, his pupils suddenly constricted as a ray of light appeared in front of him. It was Zichen's figure, and what followed was a thunderous fist light. This punch landed on Yu Shiyu's body. Amidst the boundless energy shock, Yu Shiyu's body was pushed back. However, He was not injured and rushed towards Zichen again. Zichen's figure flickered and disappeared from where he was. When he reappeared, he was on Yushiyu's side. After using the heavenly thunder wings, his speed was the fastest in the world. There was no doubt about it. Yushiyu's body was sent flying once again. Zichen used his saber and punched repeatedly. Such attacks were terrifying enough to suppress Yushiyu. However, that was all. So far, Yushiyu, who had his own domain and black energy, had not suffered any serious injuries. Zichen had used his full strength, but he could not suppress the other party. The rule power that he was most confident in had also lost its effect at this time. It could be said that the other party was the most difficult opponent he had encountered since he came to this world. Although he had not used the strongest move of the two-colored lotus, the other party was a native with a domain. Even if Zichen used it, he did not think that he could kill the other party. The battle continued for a while, and it was obvious that the two of them were evenly matched. Yushiyu retreated again and looked at Zichen, who was no longer attacking. He said indifferently, "We can't go on like this." Zichen nodded and said, "Neither of us can do anything to each other. Why don't you let him go?" Yushiyu sneered, "Let him go? Before we came here, I already said that one of us would have to die here. If they keep fighting like this, it's impossible to determine a winner," Zichen said with a frown. "So, let's just let them decide the victor." Shiyu did not explain further. The next moment, his body disappeared and was replaced by boundless black energy. These energies twisted and transformed in front of him before finally turning into a huge black python. The python seemed to be a real existence. It was several 100 feet long, and its cold eyes stared at Zichen. A cold aura enveloped Zichen, causing Zichen's heart to tremble. He felt a sense of danger. He unsheathed his blade without hesitation and slashed down forcefully. 8 strands of saber intent lingered in the saber light, making this saber strike even stronger. When the blade light landed on the python's body, it was like a clay ox entering the sea. It did not cause the slightest ripple and disappeared. Boom! The black python moved. Its aura surged, and the blade domain began to distort. The python's tail swept gently, and a terrifying wave spread out. The domain exploded. The terror of the python caused Zichen's expression to change drastically. At this moment, a terrifying energy swept over from the opposite side. Facing this energy, Zichen coughed up blood and flew backward. The two were not on the same level at all. The black python flew forward. During this time, the surging energy around it caused the space to become unstable. A terrifying aura filled every place. In the next moment, Zichen felt that he had lost control of his body. It was as if he was firmly sealed by the rules of space. His body became unable to move at all. His face was pale and he was terrified, seeing that the python was approaching and was about to swallow him in one gulp. At this moment, the energy in his body suddenly went berserk. Endless lightning surged out of his body and turned into a thunder dragon. The moment the lightning dragon appeared, the pressure in the surroundings disappeared. At this moment, Zichen also disappeared and was replaced by a thunder dragon. The thunder dragon pounced on the black python, and the two powerful creatures began to fight fiercely. Zichen was in the middle of the thunder dragon. He did not feel any danger, but he was very puzzled. He did not understand what was going on. Could it be related to the fate that Yushiyu had mentioned earlier? Could it be that the thunder dragon and the black python were destined to be? At this moment, Zichen could not help but wonder if there were two powerhouses in this area back then. One was the black python, and the other was the thunder dragon. The two of them were like mortal enemies. An absolute battle broke out, and in the end, both of them died. After that, the two of them left behind their inheritances, and their successors would fight for generations. This time, it was Zichen and Yushiyu's turn. Often, fate was like this. But this time was obviously different because Zi Chen's thunder body was obtained from that figure. This was something more powerful and terrifying than the cultivation method recorded in the heavenly book. It was said that it was not something from this world. Suddenly, Zi Chen's expression changed. Could it be that this black energy was also not something from this world? As for the truth, Zi Chen could only wait until the battle was over to ask Yushiyu. Perhaps he would never have the chance to ask again. The Thunder Dragon and the Black Python each displayed powerful techniques, causing the space to constantly distort as if it could shatter at any moment. During this period, Zi Chen felt his energy rapidly depleting. Clearly, the Thunder Dragon needed his energy to maintain its battle. After this continued for a long time, the Black Python let out an unwilling hiss and its body was sent flying. After being sent flying, the Black Python's body immediately shrank, turning into a small black snake that wrapped around Yushiyu's body. Yushiyu stood up and looked ahead with a pale face. The Thunder Dragon's aura was still strong and fierce. It was also shrinking, and Zi Chen's body appeared from it. How is this possible? He shouted unwillingly. After the previous battle, you exhausted yourself greatly. Under such circumstances, how can you have more energy than me? The battle between the Black Python and the Thunder Dragon did not determine the outcome. What determined the outcome was his and Yushiyu's energy. In Yushiyu's body, there was no energy left, so he could not maintain the Black Python to continue fighting. In Zi Chen's body, the energy was still very abundant because there was a complete and perfect world behind him. Zi Chen did not know how to respond to Yushiyu, so he did not answer. Chapter 3000. Zi Chen stared ahead in a daze. When he saw the black snake suddenly counterattack, he was momentarily absent-minded. Yushiyu's aura became weaker, but he did not resist. He allowed the black snake to bite his neck. Light quickly flowed from his body. There was unwillingness in his eyes, as well as sadness. "Stop!" Zi Chen shouted and flew forward, unsheathing his long saber. The little black snake glanced at Zi Chen. Its eyes were extremely cold. Before the saber light landed, it had already left Yushiyu's body and flew towards the periphery. With a paw sound, it tore open a small hole in space, escaping from this place. Lei Long, who was guarding Zi Chen, disappeared into thin air after the little snake left. "How are you?" Zi Chen sheathed his saber and looked at Yushiyu, whose aura was weak. Yushiyu shook his head. The emotions on his face had completely calmed down. "Do you want to treat your injuries?" Zi Chen asked as he approached Yushiyu. "Earlier, it swallowed my domain," Yushiyu said calmly. Hearing Yushiyu's words, Zi Chen's expression changed. Without the domain, the natives would soon disappear. "Why?" Zi Chen looked at Yushiyu and asked, "Why didn't you attack earlier?" If Yushiyu had not given him time to fight with the elders, Zi Chen would not have reached rank 9. In this battle as a rank 8, the chances of him dying were very high. However, the other party gave him a period of time, allowing him to reach the 9th rank and his battle prowess to become even stronger. Yushiyu said, "Since it's a fated battle, it naturally has to be fair. Moreover, you didn't exceed my expectations. In the end, you won. Although I'm somewhat unwilling, it's still the outcome I expected. You're very good." "Why?" Zi Chen looked at Yushiyu in confusion. "Because even if I won, I would still die in the end. You won and you're still alive, aren't you?" Yushiyu laughed bitterly. "When I found out about all this, I guessed the final outcome. It's a pity that it got away. Looks like another unlucky soul is going to end up like me." Yushiyu's body began to disappear. Since this is fate, the battle will naturally continue until one side is completely dead. A new opponent will find you. That energy is very evil, so you have to be careful. My bracelet contains my harvest over the years, as well as the key to enter Heaven's Road. It's enough for your friends to break through. I don't care about the life or death of the other Yu family members. It's fine if the Yu family is destroyed, but I hope you can let Yue go. Yu Shiyu's body completely disappeared. Only his voice echoed, leaving behind a floating bracelet. Looking at the scattered light spots, Zi-Chen's expression became very complicated. The bracelet turned into a ray of light and fell into his hand. As he probed it with his spiritual sense, he saw many resources. These resources were what the elders were reluctant to give last time, but there was a lot in this bracelet. Just as Yushiyu said, it was enough for his friends to break through. It seemed that Yushiyu had reaped quite a lot of benefits over the years by relying on his identity as the alliance leader. But now, all of his gains were in his hands. In addition, Zi-Chen also saw the key to open the door to Heaven's Road. The key released a bright light, which was very eye-catching. After putting away the bracelet, Zi-Chan walked toward the only door in this space. There was a downward passage in the door. There were night pearls inlaid on both sides of the passage, so it was not dark. He walked all the way to the end and found another door. After hesitating for a moment, he walked in. There was another space in the space. It was an even smaller space, and there was a person standing inside. Zi-Chen looked at the other party and said, "Are you Senior Kong Hongye?" In fact, he had already guessed the other party's identity through his appearance. "Are you Zi-Chen?" Kong Hongye asked. Zi-Chan was surprised that the other party knew his name, so he nodded. "Is Yu Shiyu dead?" Kong Hongye asked again. "Yes, I'm here to save Senior." Looking at the closed space, he drew his saber without hesitation. Every slash was a slash that split the air. One slash, two slashes. After several slashes, a crack appeared in the space, and then it exploded. Kong Hongye's body fell from above. His face was extremely pale as he half knelt on the ground. "Senior, are you okay?" Zi-Chen stepped forward to help him up. Kong Hongye shook his head and said, "I'm fine. I'm just a little weak. All these years, my energy has been swallowed by the space. Do you want to take a break?" Zi-Chen asked. "No, thank you." The space that Zi-Chen and Yushiyu entered could not only isolate spiritual thoughts, but also vision. Everyone was waiting. Everyone was very nervous at this time. Except for Yue, no one here wanted Yushiyu to live because his life meant that he would be constantly oppressed. At the same time, because Zi-Chen belonged to the same camp as them, everyone had the same goal. Although Monk and the others knew how powerful Zi-Chen was, they did not have any confidence at this time. Logically speaking, Zi-Chen should be fine, but they were always full of worry and could not calm down. While waiting anxiously, a black light suddenly broke through the space and flew into the distance. Everyone was startled when they saw the black light. It didn't seem to belong to either of the two. After a moment of waiting, a ripple appeared in the space, and two more people appeared in the ripple. Seeing the two people, everyone was stunned at first, but then they exclaimed. Sure enough, Zi-Chen was alive. "Dad!" Kong Emo shouted and ran forward. Yu Wei let out a sigh, his eyes filled with despair. Kong Emo was very excited to meet his father. Zi-Chen walked over. Wei Li looked at him and said with a smile, "I knew you could do it." Zi-Chen said, "It was quite dangerous." "Did you get the key?" Wei Li asked. Zi-Chen nodded. Wei Li's eyes showed a touch of joy. After waiting for so many years, it was finally time to leave. Zi-Chen said, "The door to Heaven's Road doesn't open randomly, so I plan to wait for my friends to break through before leaving together. This is yours to begin with, so it's only right. I believe no one has any objections." Wei Li looked at Zi-Chen and asked, "What are you going to do with the rest of the Yu family?" Zi-Chen had not thought of what to do with the Yu family. He turned his head to look at Yue, whose face was pale. "You can leave. I won't kill you," Zi-Chen said to Yue. Yue was stunned as he looked at Zi-Chen. "Before Yu Shiyu died, he hoped that I would let you go." Yu Wei left with a complicated expression. He did not expect the Alliance Master to care about him. In today's battle, many aristocratic families in Heaven's Road City were destroyed, but there were still many natives. Zichen and the others stayed at the inn. Previously, they lived in Kappa's mansion, but now it was in ruins. Chapter 3001. Zichen had killed Yu Shiyu, and many members of the Yu family had died this time. It could be said that they had lost their momentum. However, over the years, many native families had been suppressed by the Yu family, so they did not hesitate to add insult to injury. All day long, the news that Zichen was going to destroy the Yu family spread in the city. At the same time, there were all kinds of provocations. Everyone knew that Zichen was not the only one who could ignore absolute defense. In Zichen's team, there was also an extremely beautiful woman who had subdued a spirit devouring grass that could also break through absolute defense. After an entire day of fear, they finally made a great concession, or rather, a decision. That night, they appointed Yu Wei as the head of the Yu family and asked him to negotiate with Zichen on behalf of the Yu family. Although it was called a negotiation, it was actually a glimmer of hope. Now that the Yu family was being hunted down by many forces and was on the verge of death, they were not qualified to negotiate with Zichen. What the family wants is to release the people who have been imprisoned by the Kong family all these years and compensate them with some resources in exchange for a glimmer of hope. After Yu Wei saw Zichen, he directly told him his purpose for coming. He did not beat around the bush because he knew it was useless. All right. Zichen nodded in agreement. He did not hesitate or consider for a long time. He was not a murderer, and there was no fundamental enmity between him and the Yu family. This time he had already obtained the key and could leave at any time. There was no need to kill again. These are additional resources. If you are not satisfied, I will go back and get some more. Yu Wei took out a divine ring. There were many resources in it, but it was obviously much worse than what Yu Shiyu had left behind. Enough. That's it. Zichen did not want to be ruthless. Walking out of Zichen's residence, Yu Wei heaved a sigh of relief. This time the Yu family was saved. These years, the Yu family seemed to be the dominant family, but in fact, there were endless internal disputes. This time, the Alliance Master was dead, and those powerful elders were also dead. The Yu family was barely able to achieve true unity. The next day, many people came to the original ruins of the Alliance Master Mansion and began to rebuild it. The Yu clan had lost its power, Kong Hongye was still alive, and the young master of the Kong clan was Zichen's friend. Everyone could see that the Kong clan was going to make a comeback. Under such circumstances, there was naturally no lack of people who would add flowers to the brocade. Moreover, the Kong family could be said to have nothing at the moment. This situation could be said to be timely help. While Yu Wei was looking for Zichen, many of the natives were also looking for Kong Hongye. All of them had respectful expressions on their faces as they addressed Kong Hongye as Alliance leader. When Kong Hongye saw these people, he didn't express much. Kong and Mo had always been by Kong Hongye's side. When the father and son met, they naturally had endless things to talk about. Kong and Mo already knew what had happened that year. His memories of the past had been sealed. Now that they had been unsealed, it was a pity that his mother was no longer around. While Kong Hongye was entertaining the natives, the inn Zichen was staying it was also visited by many ninth-grade divine generals. They were here to see Zichen, but unfortunately, Zichen refused to see anyone. Taking a step back, they saw the monk and expressed that they wanted to enter the heavenly road. The monk was easy to talk to and had a good appetite. Everyone who came couldn't avoid losing some resources. Moreover, as the news spread, more and more people came to the inn. They stopped looking for Zichen and went directly to the monk. No one knew what the two sides discussed. In short, when everyone left, although they were very satisfied, the corners of their eyes were twitching and they seemed to be in pain. This situation lasted for 5 days. On this day, the monk suddenly came to Zichen and asked directly, Is there a limit to the number of people who can enter the heavenly road? Zichen glanced at the monk and said, Why are you asking now? How many resources did you extort from them? The monk said unhappily, What do you mean by extortion? This is called service fee, okay? We fought for it with our lives. Why should they take it for free? Seeing that Zichen was about to say something, the monk continued, Even if we don't want it, others have to. Don't forget, we have a world behind us and a big family. Zichen didn't have a temper. Speaking of which, if they could really get out and bring back the resources here, they would definitely be able to increase the overall strength of the team. Go and ask about the specific situation. I still have a lot of people waiting in line. If there is no limit, I have no scruples. Saying that, the monk laughed. Clearly, the harvest this time was not small. I've almost recovered. It's time to go and take a look. On the same day, Zichen went to look for Kong Hongya. After rescuing him, Zichen only saw Kong Hongya once. After that, it didn't disturb him. Kong Hongya had been trapped for many years and was very weak. He needed time to recover. These days, it was Kong Mo who accompanied him. Only Kong Hongya and Zichen were in the room. Kong Hongya looked at Zichen and said shamefully, I've been recuperating these days and didn't have the time to visit. I hope you don't mind, Zichen. Zichen said, I won't. I came here rashly because I have something to ask. Please speak. I want to know if the heavenly road opens, are there any restrictions on the number of people who can enter? Zichen asked the monk's concern. Kong Hongya shook his head and said, There are no restrictions. Everyone can enter, but no one dares to say if they can walk out of the heavenly road alive. Zichen nodded. As long as there were no restrictions, he was relieved. Kong Hongya said again, I heard from Xian, or that your custom-made battle armor was schemed against and destroyed. After we recover, we will customize a new set for you. The quality will only be better than before. Thank you very much. Zichen didn't refuse. Entering the heavenly road was bound to be dangerous. With battle armor, everyone could protect themselves. Kong Hongya hesitated for a moment before saying, Zichen, can I ask you for a favor? Zichen looked at Kong Hongya in surprise. When you leave, can you bring Xian with you? Xian was Kong Mo. His name used to be Kong Xian. Zichen knew that the natives also had to enter the heavenly road and enter the divine monarch domain. However, he found it strange that the other party was willing to let Kong Mo leave when the Kong family was obviously weakened. Because most of the people here can't leave, they gradually developed many desires. People's hearts are not what they used to be. Instead of letting Xian stay here and be schemed against by others, it's better to leave with you and go to a wider world. Kong Hongya said. Zichen nodded and said, If Senior is willing to let Kong Xian go with us, I have no objections. Kong Hongya heaved a sigh of relief when he heard Zichen agree. Then, Zichen took out the key and handed it to Kong Hongya. I'll leave this key with Senior. After we leave, Senior will take care of it. I hope Senior won't deliberately make things difficult for the divine generals who want to enter the divine monarch domain. After all, their purpose here is to enter the divine monarch domain. Wei Li had told him that when Kong Hongya was in charge of the key, he treated the foreign divine generals well. However, there was still a limit to the number of people who could enter. Kong Hongya sighed and said, I'm not making things difficult for them. Every time there is a limit to the number of people. I just want them to have a chance to live. Zichen said in confusion, but Senior just said that there is no limit to the number of people. Chapter 3002. Kong Hongya had never died. Kappa and the others thought that it was because the elders were restraining him. In fact, Yushi wanted to know the secret of Heaven Road, so he let Kong Hongya live. In the face of Yu Shiyu's interrogation, Kong Hongya had never spoken, but now he took the initiative to mention it. There are secrets in Heaven Road. Zichen was very surprised to hear this. Heaven Road can't be opened at will. Every time it is opened, it needs to gather energy. Only when there is enough energy can it be opened normally. Zichen knew this. It could be said that most of the people in this city knew this as well. The reason for this is mainly because the space in the door to Heaven Road is not stable. When there is enough energy, it will be relatively stable, which can also ensure the safety of some people. Kong Hongya said, "This is why Heaven Road needs a period of time to open, but this is not absolute. As long as I want, I can open Heaven Road at any time and let everyone in. Even if there is not enough energy, it can still be opened. It's just that the number of divine generals who can successfully reach the divine king's domain alive will be very few. Although the Yu family has opened Heaven Road several times over the years, in my opinion, Heaven Road is still full of energy, even to an unprecedented extent." Kong Hongya continued, "If the same door is opened by me, there will be a huge consumption of energy, which can ensure the stability of that space. On the other hand, if it wasn't me, or if it wasn't someone from the Kong family who opened it, then even if it was full of energy, it wouldn't consume a single bit of energy. Everyone who went in had gone in without energy, so the chances of survival were extremely slim." Zichen's expression changed. Obviously, he did not expect that there would be such a big difference when using the key to open Heaven Road. "In my opinion, this door has not been opened normally for tens of thousands of years. The energy gathered in it is enough to ensure that everyone can enter normally this time." Kong Hongya finally said, "Because the Kong family is the gatekeeper of Heaven Road and also the guardian of Heaven Road. Of course, this secret is only known by the current head of the family and has been passed down from generation to generation." Zichen left Kong Hongya's residence. He did not expect that the Kong family had such a relationship with Heaven Road. After returning, Zichen told Monk that there was no limit to the quota. Monk was overjoyed when he heard this. On that day, he saw many ninth-grade divine generals. Apart from the monk, everyone began to cultivate in seclusion, using the resources left behind by Yushiu to break through to the final realm. After another 3 days, Tyrant also chose to go into seclusion. This made the divine generals who had yet to obtain a spot anxious. Previously, Zichen had forcefully broken through to the next realm. This time he chose to go into seclusion as well. Furthermore, he needed to expend even more energy to temper his body. The situation in Heaven Road City had stabilized. At the very least, before Zichen's group left, there wouldn't be any chaos. The members of the Kong family were released and slowly recovered. While the other natives of the city were providing assistance, they also occupied the mansions of the original elders that had been destroyed. Unlike the carefree divine generals, their families had to stay here and develop for a long time. After Kong Hongya recovered, he began to make preparations to rebuild his family. He did not immediately refine armor for Zichen and the others. After all, refining armor was not something that could be done overnight. Moreover, Zichen's precondition for leaving was that his friends had also reached rank 9. Obviously, there was still some time before that. With the help of many divine generals, the Alliance head residence was being built at a rapid pace. The area was much larger than before. Kong Mo also began to refine armor for a long time, striving to reach the equivalent of a rank 9 divine general as soon as possible. Many rank 9 divine generals exchanged resources for qualifications from Tyrant. They were in a good mood. The atmosphere of the entire Heaven Road city naturally became very good. There were no more disputes. Those divine generals who had yet to reach rank 9 were all working hard to cultivate. 10 years passed peacefully in Heaven Road City. Kong Hongya moved into the Alliance head residence. The Kong family could be considered to have recovered some vitality. Thus, Kong Hongya began to refine armor. During this period, he also invited the weapon refiners of other families to help. After all, he had to refine dozens of armor at once. It was naturally time-consuming. The materials they used were carefully selected by Kong Mo. The quality was even higher than the last time. This time, no one kept anything for themselves. The aristocratic families also provided some good resources. After Zichen and the others left, there would be no possibility of them returning. At that time, they would still have the final say in this area. Thus, at this time, providing some good things to let Zichen leave quickly was not a bad idea. While refining the armor, Kong Hongya also taught Kong Mo some weapon refinement techniques. During this time, he learned the highest level of refining armor, the armor domain. Back then, Kappa and the others had used the armor domain to control Zichen and the others. After learning the method of refining the armor domain, Kong Mo recalled the dozens of armor sets he had seen. He was very regretful. If he had mastered this technique earlier, not only would he have been able to see the armor domain at a glance, but he would also be able to change the patterns to make the armor domain his own. This armor domain was the highest level of weapon refinement technique. It was impossible for the rank 9 divine generals here to obtain it. Their custom-made armor was the most common type of custom-made armor. Dozens of armor sets, with the help of many natives, still took 100 years to refine successfully. In these 100 years, Heaven Road City was filled with a cultivation atmosphere. It also became more and more lively. This was because everyone knew that after Zichen's friends broke through, it would be time for everyone to leave Heaven Road City and enter the Heaven Road Gate. After 100 years, Zichen came out of seclusion. These years, he had been constantly refining his own energy. His combat strength had become stronger, and at the same time his physical strength had become incomparably pure. After he came out of seclusion, Su Mengyao and the others also came out of seclusion one after another. With an unlimited supply of resources, everyone's speed of breaking through was very fast. In the next 10 years, all of Zichen's friends broke through and reached rank 9 one after another. When they came out of seclusion, Monk spread the news and continued the unfinished business from many years ago. This time, everyone was clearly prepared. It was a lot more straightforward, and Monk gained a lot. At the same time, Kong Hongya brought some natives to find Zichen. They brought dozens of armor sets that had been refined. These dozens of armor sets were of very high quality. They had reached the peak of weapon refinement in this world. At the same time, each set of armor had its own armor domain. Zichen took the armor sets and thanked them profusely. Naturally, he would not refuse the request of the aristocratic families to send people into Heaven Road City. At the same time, he also stopped Monk from demanding service fees from these people. After everyone left, Kong Hongya looked at Zichen and said, "Are you leaving?" Zichen nodded and said, "I've stayed here for too long. It's time to leave." "When do you plan to leave?" "In a month." Chapter 3003. In the last month, Monk met with many divine generals. Many people knew that the Heavenly Road's gate was about to open, and the quota was in Zichen's hands. After asking around, these people took the initiative to ask Monk for resources. A month passed quickly. On this day, all the rank 9s in the Heavenly Road gathered together, waiting for the gate to open. They had been waiting for this day for a long time. Zichen's group walked out of their residence. Seeing the familiar faces, Monk was full of smiles and even greeted a few familiar faces. Some people nodded at Monk, their expressions unnatural. Many people turned their heads away, not wanting to look at Monk. It was obvious that Monk had received a lot from them. Zichen saw Wei, Li in the crowd, and nodded at him. The latter nodded in response, not deliberately going forward. Although Monk was very greedy, he did not ask for service fees from Wei Li this time. He also did not ask for those who came with Wei Li to help them last time. In the center of the square, those family members had already arrived, and Kong Hongya stood at the front. Kong Mo stood beside Kong Hongya, his eyes red, very reluctant to part. Zichen led the group forward and asked, "Can we begin?" Kong Hongya nodded, turned around and said to the crowd, "Entering the heavenly road will still be dangerous. For safety's sake, rank 8 should not enter. Work hard to cultivate, and try to enter when you reach rank 9s next time." This time, Monk did not ask for service fees from any of the rank 8s. If they wanted to enter, no one would stop them. However, in the crowd, many divine generals were worried that Kong Hongye would be like Yu Shiyu, occupying the quota alone. So it was inevitable that they were worried. Everyone, don't worry. Every time the heavenly road's gate opens, it will be within the permitted range. It was like this when Alliance Leader Kong was in power, and it will be in the future. The reason why the Alliance leader strictly limits the number of people who can enter is to ensure that more people can live. Zichen said aloud. Many rank 8s retreated. Whether they believed Zichen's words or not, they would cherish their lives. "Let's go." Kong Hongye took out a shiny key and waved it in the air. A ray of light appeared from the key and landed in the air. A huge gap was torn open in the sky like a passage. Many people had strange expressions on their faces. Could it be that opening the heavens road was so simple? Some of the old people in the city noticed the abnormality, and their expressions changed. A group of people flew into the crevice. The other rank 9s followed suit. They came to an even wider space, and in this space there was an even bigger door. There was no door in the portal. It looked empty, with only the frame standing there. The door frame was engraved with patterns, releasing an ancient aura. This was the door to Heaven's Road. If one wanted to enter Heaven's Road, they could only use the key to open the door and enter from here. Many natives had seen Yu Shiyu open the door, but it was clearly different from Kong Hongye's. They had to walk out of the city for a long time to reach this space, unlike Kong Hongye's gentle stroke. It looked simple and calm. The door frame released a powerful aura, and no one dared to approach it. Kong Hongye took the key and walked forward. That ancient and powerful aura seemed to have no effect on him. He walked to the door frame as if he was walking to his own courtyard. He raised his head and looked at the huge door. His eyes were filled with emotions. He had thought that he would never be able to come here again. The key in his hand released a bright light, and he gently sent it forward. The door frame suddenly glowed. The water-like light dissipated from it, forming 2 closed doors of light. There were patterns on the door of light, and the aura was getting stronger. The divine generals nearby could not withstand this aura, so they retreated. Some natives looked at each other with surprise in their eyes. Kong Hongye was indeed different from when he opened the door to the Yu family. The huge door appeared in front of him. Kong Hongye reached out and inserted the key. The door released a strong light again, and the light completely engulfed Kong Hongye. Everyone was in a daze. This situation lasted for a full 15 minutes. When the light disappeared, Kong Hongye reached out and pushed the door in front of him. The door was extremely big, and Kong Hongye seemed very small in front of it. However, after he exerted his strength, the 2 doors were pushed open by a gap. The aura escaped from the gap of the door. At this time, everyone's attention was on the open door. They were all shocked by the terrifying aura coming from the door. No one noticed that Kong Hongye's aura was rapidly weakening. At the same time, the surging energy contained in this world was also rapidly dissipating. It was as if a vortex had appeared and began to extract the energy of this world. The door was completely opened, and the boundless light illuminated the surroundings. The aura released from the door became more and more terrifying. After a long time, the powerful aura dissipated, and the light gradually faded away. Kong Hongye walked back. His face was very pale, and it seemed that he had consumed a lot of energy. The divine generals did not change their expressions because they did not think it was abnormal. However, the natives who had been lucky enough to see Yu Shiyu open the door could see that it was abnormal. When Yu Shiyu opened the door, there was no abnormality. Why did Kong Hongye feel weak? Was it because he was not as strong as Yu Shiyu? Kong Hongye walked to Zichen and said, "You can go in now." Father, Kong Mo shouted, tears falling from his eyes. Kong Hongya patted Kong Mo's head and said, "You are no longer a child. You have the ability to decide what path you should take. Go." Then he looked at Zichen and said, "Sorry for the trouble." Zichen said, "As long as we are alive, Kong Mo will be fine." Kong Hongya nodded gratefully. He turned to the crowd and said, "You can go in now." Those level 9 experts who had been waiting for a long time could not wait any longer. As soon as Kong Hongya finished speaking, they all flew toward the gate of Heaven Road. With a flash of light, their figures disappeared. Many level 9 experts flew toward the depths. During this period, there were a few level 8 experts who were led by level 9 experts. They believed that they could reach the Divine King's domain smoothly. No one expressed dissatisfaction with this. They could only control their own life and death. Zichen, see you in the Divine King's domain. Wei Li clasped his fist at Zichen and left with his people. See you in the Divine King's domain, Zichen said. More level 9 experts could not wait to fly toward the gate of Heaven Road. Fewer and fewer people stayed. Zichen looked around and said, "Let's go too." After bidding farewell to Kong Hongya and the elders, Zichen led his people toward the gate of Heaven Road. Kong Mo looked back 3 times with reluctance in his eyes. In the end, he disappeared into the light. Kong Hongya looked at everyone who disappeared and said, "Take care." He put away the key. He would keep the key for the rest of the time. Chapter 3004. After entering the gate of the Heavenly Road, they saw a huge and spacious space. It was empty all around. Other than this space, there was nothing else. There were no mountains, stones, or buildings. This was the Heavenly Road. Everyone was confused, but they didn't stop. Those rank 9 martial artists who arrived flew towards the end of this space. During this time, some of them would encounter the ripples midway and then enter the ripples. Some of them were lucky enough to reach the end and their figures disappeared. Where should we go? Looking at the disappearing figures, they looked at Zichen subconsciously. They were used to him making decisions. It was Zichen's first time here. Naturally, he didn't know which direction to go. He looked at Su Mengyao, hoping she could deduce. At this moment, Kong Mo squatted down. He held his head with both hands, looking very painful. "Kong Mo, what's wrong?" Lin Shui noticed Kong Mo's abnormality. She squatted down and asked with concern, "My head hurts. It's like something is growing out of my head." The veins on Kong Mo's forehead bulged. His body trembled. His voice was a little hoarse. He resisted the pain and didn't cry out. Zichen squatted down immediately. A wisp of soul energy tried to enter Kong Mo's consciousness, but it was blocked by a strong force. The soul was too important. Naturally, it couldn't be forcefully broken. Zichen retracted his spiritual thoughts and looked at Kong Mo with a frown. He had just arrived and there was already a change. This was obviously abnormal. It should have something to do with the Heavenly Road. Thinking back to what Kong Hongya told him about the Kong family, Zichen guessed that Kong Mo's change might not be a bad thing. Since he was a protector, perhaps he would receive some rewards or special treatment after coming here. Seeing that Zichen couldn't do anything, the others could only be anxious. The painful expression on Kong Mo's face gradually disappeared. It was obvious that the pain was lessening. The others looked at Kong Mo nervously. After a moment, Kong Mo opened his eyes. The pain on his face disappeared and was replaced by joy. "How is it?" Seeing the change in Kong Mo's expression, everyone's faces revealed astonishment. A map appeared in my mind. "It should be the route to leave this place," Kong Mo said happily. The pain that suddenly appeared before had completely disappeared. Everyone was surprised. They didn't understand what was going on. Previously, none of them had an accurate location to go to, so it was naturally a good thing that they had a map. At this moment, only the few of them were left in this space. The others had all left. "Then you lead the way," Zichen said. Kong Mo nodded and walked forward. As they moved forward, a light appeared on Kong Mo's body. The light fell on Zichen and the others. In the past, it was Zichen and the others who protected Kong Mo. Now, it was Kong Mo's turn to protect everyone. Kong Mo raised his tender face, his face full of pride. They moved forward in a straight line. During this time, a ripple appeared and enveloped everyone. Previously, when similar ripples appeared, the people inside would disappear and enter the ripples. However, due to the light emitted from Kong Mo's body, their figures did not disappear. Instead, they passed through the ripples and continued to walk in this space. A look of surprise appeared on everyone's face as they exclaimed one after another. Hearing these exclamations, Kong Mo appeared even happier. Just like that, they continued forward. They encountered even more ripples along the way, but not a single ripple was able to take them away. Soon, they reached the end of this space and entered the last space barrier. Reflected in their eyes was a spacious main road. In front of the main road, there were several small paths, and within the small paths, there were some forks. Seeing so many paths, everyone's expression changed slightly. After a slight pause, Kong Mo pointed to the small path on the left and said, "Let's go this way." While speaking, they walked toward the small path on the left. When they reached a fork in the path, they continued to walk toward the left. Along the way, there were many paths. In addition, there were many ripples. These ripples could take people away, but they did not have any effect on the others. Obviously, they could find the most suitable path by following Kong Mo. Along the way, they did not encounter any danger. "It seems that my super strength of the 9th level is useless in this place," Monk said with some regret. The Tyrant said with some regret. They were all level 9, so his combat power was naturally the best. In addition, he also had a defense that surpassed everyone else, including Zichen. As soon as Monk's voice fell, a distorted space appeared in front of them. A giant beast rushed out of the space. Looking at the giant beast that was surrounded by the power of space, Zichen turned back and scolded with a smile. "Look at your crow's beak!" "Let me do it." Monk immediately perked up. His body was surrounded by golden light. With a light shield in hand, he was ready to attack. "Let me do it. There are many paths here. If we are not careful, we will take the wrong path. It will be difficult to come back," Kong Mo said. In these years, he had improved a lot. His strength was equivalent to that of a 9th level divine general. He spread out his domain, and a light hammer appeared in his hand. This was the magic weapon he used to refine weapons. It was a manifestation of his magic power. The light of complicated patterns lingered on it. He took a few steps forward, and the light hammer in his hand suddenly smashed down, accompanied by a huge energy shock. A terrifying ripple spread in all directions. As the ripple spread, the giant beast that came from the void in front of them was knocked back by Kong Mo's attack. Behind it, a ripple of light happened to appear. The giant beast's body sank into it and disappeared. With the crisis resolved, everyone continued to move forward. In the meantime, they met other people. When they saw Zichen and his group, they were very surprised and wanted to follow behind them. After all, Zichen's combat power was obvious to all. At least they would not be in danger if they followed them. However, before they could go far, they were swept away by the ripple of light that appeared one after another. In less than 10 minutes, they were the only ones left. This time, Zichen and his group saw it very clearly. It was the light of energy that was activated by Kong Mo's body that ensured that they could move forward normally in this space without being affected at all. The others did not have the protection of Kong Mo's light of energy, so they were all moved by the ripples. On the road ahead, giant beasts would appear from time to time. Zichen and his group did not attack. They were all sent flying by Kong Mo. After moving forward like this for an unknown period of time, Kongamo suddenly smiled and said, "We have arrived." When everyone heard this, they were delighted. Could it be that they had walked out of the gate of heaven path so quickly? Could it be that the divine king's domain was behind them? Kong Emo walked forward and his figure disappeared. Zichin and his group followed closely behind. Chapter 3005. This was not the exit, and they were not in the divine king domain. It was a pagoda. The pagoda was 9 stories high and stood alone in this space. Colorful energy flew from all directions and gathered into the light pagoda. The pagoda emitted a mighty aura and released a strong pressure. Seeing the pagoda devouring energy, everyone's expression changed and they were puzzled. Could the exit of the divine king domain be inside the pagoda? Monk asked doubtfully. Kong Emo shook his head, indicating that he was not sure either. According to the map, they had arrived here. Let's go inside and take a look. Zichin looked at the mysterious light pagoda in front of him. The other party looked extraordinary, and there must be a deep meaning for it to appear here. The group had just walked a few dozen feet when a ray of light suddenly appeared. The light turned into a light shadow and stared at them indifferently. The other party was just a humanoid creature and not a real human. At this moment, his expression was cold and there was an unconcealable killing intent in his eyes. "Those who step in will die." His voice was cold and harsh like mechanical friction. A ray of light rushed forward. It was Monk. He had always felt that his powerful combat strength was useless. Now that an enemy had appeared, it was time for him to show his strength. Bang! He held the light shield in his hand and crashed into the humanoid creature. A strong wave spread out and the humanoid creature retreated. Golden light burst out from Monk's body and a tall Buddha shadow appeared behind him. The Buddha shadow slammed down with a mighty aura and golden light covered the sky. The oppressive aura swept over from the sky. The humanoid creature snorted coldly. Light surged in his hand and a long sword appeared. He thrust the sword forward and the sword light rushed into the sky. It landed on the palm print and energy exploded. The palm print was destroyed in midair. Monk, who had put away the light shield, held the demon's subduing pestle and came in front of the humanoid creature. Clang! The energy vibrated and a golden wave spread out. The two of them retreated. The people behind watched this scene quietly. The humanoid creature was able to block Monk's attack. It was obvious that he was not weak. What puzzled them was where they were. Facing Monk's strong attack, the humanoid creature kept retreating. He was almost at the bottom of the 9-story pagoda. Monk was unusually excited. He attacked faster and faster. The golden Buddha light lit up the surroundings and dyed the colorful light pagoda behind him golden. Buzz! At this moment, ripples appeared on the surface of the light pagoda, and then another light appeared. Every ray of light was a humanoid creature. Their auras were as powerful as the previous one. After they appeared, they besieged the monk. Looking at the terrifying attacks that filled the sky, Tyrant let out a strange cry. The light shield in his hand appeared again, forming the strongest defense. All sorts of attacks landed on his body, causing countless ripples, while the powerful energy rumbled. It did not break through the monk's defense. Looking at these humanoid creatures through the defense, the monk laughed complacently. "Come on, let's see how many years you'll need to break through my defense." These humanoid creatures didn't seem to have any intelligence. They didn't seem to be able to break through the defenses at all, so they continued to attack. "Let's go inside and take a look." Zichin looked ahead and said. The devil ape standing beside him was the first to rush forward. Zhang Haotian's body flashed with black light and disappeared. Luo Yi and the others also rushed forward, and even a light flashed beside Su Mengyao. The group went forward and encountered these humanoid creatures. They used their powerful attacks, and the energy rumbled continuously. Seeing the group coming forward, the monk didn't remove his defense. Instead, he directly rammed into these humanoid creatures. Bang! 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 These humanoid creatures that were close to him were all sent flying. A green light appeared from the void and directly entangled a humanoid creature. The next moment, countless roots appeared and took root on the humanoid creature's body, beginning to devour its energy. Under the devouring of the spirit devouring grass, the glowing body of the humanoid creature dimmed at a rate visible to the naked eye. Countless specks of light entered the spirit devouring grass through the roots. Gradually, the humanoid creature's body became more and more blurry before finally disappearing. The spirit devouring grass devoured very quickly, and the others hadn't killed a single one yet. Let the spirit plant devour them all. Su Mingyao's voice sounded. The spirit plant was what she called the spirit devouring grass. The others naturally didn't have any objections. While they were restraining these humanoid creatures, the spirit devouring grass appeared from the dark and silently trapped those humanoid creatures. Then it took root in their bodies and began to devour their energy. The others, who didn't move at the back, all looked forward quietly. Their eyes were filled with fear, but at the same time, there was a touch of relief. They were glad that the spirit devouring grass belonged to their side. If it belonged to the enemy, it would be too terrifying. After devouring a lot of spiritual energy, the spirit devouring grass's body shone brighter and seemed to have become stronger. It didn't take long for the spirit devouring grass to devour all the humanoid creatures. The 9-story tower in front released light, and no more humanoid creatures appeared. Let's go! The group walked forward. The spirit devouring grass turned into a green light and flew back. This time, it didn't disappear directly. Instead, it floated above Su Mingyao's head and circled around her. Obviously, it was also protecting her. There was a light gate under the 9-story tower. The monk walked to the light gate and pushed it forward. The light gate didn't budge. Buzz! The monk exerted force with both hands again. An intense light shone, but he still couldn't push the light gate. Obviously, it wasn't because he didn't have enough strength. It should be because of the rules. Let me give it a try. Kong Mo walked forward, and the monk retreated. Kong Mo came forward, put his hands on the light gate, and began to exert force. The light on his body immediately dimmed. Everyone could clearly feel the loss of strength. The next moment, the light gate shook and a gap appeared. Seeing this scene, a smile appeared on everyone's faces, but they were not too surprised. The light gate opened completely, and a dazzling light appeared from within. Kong Mo looked back at Ziqin. Let's go in and have a look. Obviously, this place took special care of Kong Mo. It shouldn't harm him. Kong Mo nodded and walked in front. Ziqin and the others followed behind. Walking into the light tower, everyone found that the energy of heaven and earth here was very rich. Apart from that, there was nothing else here. It was empty. After scanning with spiritual sense, they didn't sense any abnormalities. They planned to enter the 2nd floor to have a look. After all, there were 9 floors here. At this moment, a light suddenly appeared in the air. It was a light ball with the power of rules flowing in it. Except for the guardians, no one else is allowed to enter the tower. Chapter 3006. Everyone was unfamiliar with the term guardian, and only Ziqin understood what it meant. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the ball of light that could speak in confusion, waiting for an explanation. Before they could get an explanation, Kong Mo disappeared in the next moment. Kong Mo is a guardian? Does that mean he's guarding us? Everyone was stunned and puzzled. The Kong family is the guardian of the heavenly road, Ziqin said aloud. The others looked at Ziqin one after another. Only when the Kong family opens the gate of the heavenly road will the space be stable, and everyone will have hope of reaching the divine monarch domain. On the other hand, if the Kong family doesn't open the gate of the heavenly road, the space of the heavenly road will be extremely unstable, Zichen said. In that case, aren't those people who followed Yushiu back then? Everyone was shocked. Most likely, Zichen said in a deep voice. Everyone was shocked as they didn't expect the Kong family to be so useful. Now that a map appeared in Kong Mo's mind and he came here, it was obvious that he had an opportunity. While they were shocked, they were also very happy. However, the opportunity was right above them, and they couldn't get it, which inevitably made them feel disappointed. I don't believe it. There was no reason to give up after seeing the resources. The monk walked directly to the second floor, and the others didn't move. The ball of light in the air said, "Trespassers will die." The monk still didn't stop, and he even sped up. Whoosh! The ball of light disappeared. In the next moment, rays of light appeared one after another, and after landing, they turned into humanoid creatures. I understand. Zichen's face revealed a hint of joy, and he said, Kong Mo is a guardian, so he can go up directly. Although we can't go up directly, we can kill our way up. Obviously, everyone had misunderstood and thought that this was Kong Mo's opportunity alone. Fortunately, the monk's personality made them react. The spirit plant that had been floating above Su Mingyao's head flew high, and many of its roots danced like spirit snakes, entangling the nearby humanoid creatures. Su Mingyao could sense the spirit plant's joy at the moment, and it was obvious that the humanoid creatures here were of great use to it. Zichen's hand flickered, and a sheathed long saber appeared. There were many humanoid creatures here, so there was no need to deliberately kill any of them. As Xiao Qin drew his saber, a dazzling light appeared. The saber light slashed forward like a waterfall. As the saber light flashed, 2 humanoid creatures were slashed apart. When their bodies fell to the ground, they turned into countless specks of light. These light dots were the purest form of energy. They were like tiny spheres that bounced back and forth on the ground. Seeing this, Zichen felt very strange. With a flash of his body, he went up and touched these round balls. The sphere landed on his palm and dissipated, entering his body and transforming into pure energy. Zichen's eyes lit up when he sensed this energy that clearly contained rules. This was a higher level of rule energy. There was an aura in it that he could not describe. The quality of this aura was very high, but unfortunately, there was very little of it. He raised his head to look at the sky, his eyes becoming brighter. Could this be the special treatment given to the protectors by Heaven's Road? He can become a god king here? The humanoid creatures here were slightly weaker than the ones outside. After killing them, the others also felt that something was amiss. Let's kill them first, then refine them. Zichen's emotions fluctuated greatly. If that was really the case, then Kong Mo had given them a great opportunity. In other words, Kong Hongye had asked them to bring Kong Mo along because of this reason. Buzz! Zichen kept slashing with his saber. Every slash was powerful enough to split the air. One after another, the humanoid creatures were killed. These humanoid creatures were not very strong, so it was relatively easy for everyone to kill them now. At this time on the 9th floor, there were countless energy spheres flying. Each of them contained pure energy. Boom! Boom! The humanoid creatures trapped by the roots of the spirit devouring grass also exploded, turning into more light dots. Obviously, at this moment, it had heard Su Mingyao's instructions. It did not devour all of them, but sped up its killing speed. After about 15 minutes, under the attacks of dozens of people, these humanoid creatures were all killed. Seeing the light dots that almost filled the entire floor of the pagoda, everyone's mood was extremely excited. Previously, they had all felt the uniqueness of this energy. It was extremely likely that it could send them into the Ancestor King realm, which was equivalent to the God King realm. Everyone began to sit down cross-legged to refine the energy. These light dots disappeared one by one, entering the body and turning into pure energy. The quality of this energy was very high. The entire 9-story pagoda was quiet. At the lowest level, Zichin and the others were refining the energy obtained from killing the humanoid creatures. Kong Mo stood at the highest level, looking ahead, curiously. There was a very large light ball there. This light ball was sealed with a spatial technique. A lot of energy light came from all directions and was absorbed by this light ball. He had been looking at this light ball for a long time. He also knew that this light ball was a kind of extremely pure energy that could help him break through, but he did not immediately refine it. He was waiting for Zichen and the others to come up. This was because he wasn't sure if the others would be forcefully expelled after he refined this energy and broke through to the next realm. Zichen opened his eyes. The energy on this level had been completely refined by everyone. In this extremely short period of time, his improvement was very great. Now he was very sure that this place had an opportunity for them to break through. In fact, Zichen did not know that this was the core of Heaven's path. This pagoda also had an extremely great origin, guarding this world. At this moment, the energy they were refining was the energy of the world's core. It was also an extremely rare energy for breaking through. In all these years, except for the Kong family, no one could reach this place. In fact, only the direct descendants of the Kong family with extremely strong bloodline talent could reach this place. It could be said that this time they had indeed benefited from Kong Mo's contribution. After the energy on this level was completely refined, everyone got up and walked towards the second level. This level was still a battle. The energy formed by the humanoid creatures was denser, and the energy balls were much larger. They fought all the way to the upper level. When they reached the fourth level, everyone felt that it was strenuous. Martin and Lunk stopped on this level, while Zichin and the others entered the fifth level. After the battle, Martin and Lunk came up to refine. When they reached this level, even more people stayed behind. The demon ape, Zichin, Tyrant, Roy, and Su Mingyao's spirit devouring grass entered the fifth level. This battle took a long time. After the battle was over, everyone went to the fifth level to refine. When they entered the sixth level, Roy and Tyrant also stopped. Although Tyrant's defense was very strong, his attack was obviously insufficient. Zichin and the spirit devouring grass reached this level. Chapter 3007. As the saber arc swept across the front, a humanoid creature's body was cut open, turning into many energy balls that scattered. These energy balls were not small in size. They emitted bright light, and the energy was extremely pure. Behind Zichin, the spirit devouring grass had already trapped more than 10 humanoid creatures, making them unable to move. It was devouring their energy, and during this time, many attacks landed on its body, but they were unable to harm it at all. Not only was it extremely tough, but its attacks were also extremely powerful. When the others were not strong enough, it was the only one who had been following Zichin to kill. Boom! 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 When the energy in these humanoid creatures could no longer maintain their human form, it would give up devouring. Then, these humanoid creatures would explode, turning into light balls and dissipating. Zichin swung his saber aggressively. Every slash was able to kill one or more humanoid creatures. The energy in the world was constantly replenishing his energy. This battle lasted a little longer, but in the end, all the humanoid creatures were killed. Looking at the many energy balls that filled this level, Zichin showed a smile on his face. Monk and the others followed him, and then they continued to refine this energy. They had refined a total of 6 levels of energy, which was a great improvement. However, the combat strength of these humanoid creatures was clearly stronger. They had powerful battle armors, and although they did not have to worry about being killed by the armor-breaking attacks, they still could not kill these humanoid creatures. This was the 6th level, and there were 3 levels to go before the 9th level. Zi-Chen looked up at the upward passage, then glanced at everyone who was still refining, and continued to walk up. Whoosh! The spirit devouring grass followed behind him, its surface emitting a bright light. Zi-Chen arrived at the 7th level. There were much fewer humanoid creatures on this level, but the aura they emitted was increasingly powerful. Under such circumstances, he could not be careless. He directly used the saber domain to surround these humanoid creatures. The spirit devouring grass was also in the saber domain, and at this moment it was attacking on its own. Zi-Chen kept attacking, and the 8 saber ancestor steels were constantly releasing saber intent. A powerful aura surged in the saber domain. At the same time, Zi-Chen's world also had rules. It could be said that he was using all his strength. Under the influence of the negative laws, his killing methods naturally became faster. After the battle ended, Zi-Chen sat on the ground, gasping for breath. He had used almost all of his strength in the previous battle and had consumed a lot of energy. However, looking at the energy in all directions, a happy smile appeared on his face. There were only 2 more floors left before he reached the 9th floor. If he persevered a little longer, he should be able to reach the 9th floor. When everyone reached this level, they sat down cross-legged again to refine the energy. Su Mengyao looked at Zi-Chen, who had consumed a lot of energy, and her beautiful eyes were full of concern. "Are you okay?" "After I recover, there should be no problem," Zi-Chen said confidently. He began to refine the energy and recover. After he had fully recovered, he walked up. The spirit devouring grass was still following him. This plant that they had obtained by accident had displayed its extraordinary power this time. Standing on the 8th level and looking at the humanoid creature, Zi-Chen felt quite startled, because there was only one enemy on this floor. The other party looked more like a real human. His body emitted a bright light, and the aura he emitted carried a powerful pressure. Although he had not reached the Divine King realm, he was not far from it. He could give Zi-Chen a certain amount of pressure. The other party was no longer bare-handed, like the other humanoid creatures. He had a weapon in his hand. It was a long spear. In the next moment, Zi-Chen's pupils shrank, because there was a light tower floating above the other party's head. This light tower had 9 floors, and it looked very similar to the 9-story towers outside. Seeing Zi-Chen, the other party attacked with his spear. He only felt his vision blur, and the long spear was already in front of him. A powerful aura fell on him. The long spear pierced through his body, causing ripples. Zi-Chen's body was shattered in the ripples. Looking at Zi-Chen's shattered body, the humanoid creature turned around. With a cold expression, the long spear in his hand swept across, causing the sound of air breaking. Clang! The long spear was blocked by a long sword, causing an even stronger ripple. Zi-Chen's body was pushed back. The spirit-devouring grass attacked. Dozens of green lights rushed out and entangled the humanoid creature. The other party swept the long spear and retreated. The spear light blocked the green lights. Buzz! The void vibrated. The 9-story tower floating above the humanoid creature's head glowed and flew towards Zi-Chen. The 9-story tower suddenly enlarged, and the power of the rules fell. Zi-Chen's vision turned black, and he was enveloped by the 9-story tower. He was trapped in a dark space. This was the space of the 9-story light tower. At the same time, he felt the energy in his body was rapidly depleting. The yin-yang light on Zi-Chen's body shone in all directions, illuminating the dark space. In the next moment, he unsheathed the long sword in his hand. The sword light slashed towards the sky like a waterfall. The sword light went up against the sky. When it encountered the barrier, it immediately exploded. This barrier was obviously the limit. Zi-Chen immediately felt relieved and slashed out again. Then he slashed again and again. After more than 10 slashes, the barrier only rippled, but did not dissipate. Seeing that the sword light had no effect, Zichen's expression did not change much. The yin-yang light constantly emerged from his body, gathering into yin-yang thunder lotuses in front of him and flying into the sky. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of thunder lotuses gathered in the sky, flashing with the yin-yang light. It looked extremely spectacular. However, Zichen knew very well what kind of terrible crisis was hidden under this spectacular thunder lotuses. When the thunder lotuses could still maintain their balance, he propped up the saber realm to protect himself. In the next moment, the tens of thousands of thunder lotuses exploded. In this small space, the exploded thunder lotuses released a destructive aura, constantly raging. Zichen's saber territory kept twisting as it withstood the impact of the shockwaves. Just the aftermath was so terrible. What kind of powerful energy impact did the barrier, which had borne the main attack, suffer? However, when the energy dissipated, Zichen was surprised to find that the attack still could not break the barrier. The attack of tens of thousands of thunder lotuses could not break the barrier. This made his expression change. After taking the saber ancestor's steel, he rushed into the air, reached the barrier, and punched. This punch stimulated the power of the 9th grade thunder body. At the same time, the yin-yang power gathered on the surface of the fist. Boom! The fist fell on the barrier. Streaks of lightning spread out, and the barrier began to distort. Zichen shouted and punched again. The energy of the thunder body was pushed to the limit by him. The flashing lightning on the surface emitted a dazzling light. In the constant roar of energy, Zichen heard the sound of the barrier breaking. A light fell in the dark space. He broke through the 9-story tower and appeared. Chapter 3008. After breaking through the 9-story tower, Zichen found himself standing in his original position. He had not moved a single step, as if everything was an illusion. He looked up and found that there were streaks of energy there. Those were the energies of the broken 9-story tower. These energies did not dissipate. They flew directly toward the humanoid creature. During this time, the energies merged and showed signs of healing. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, more than 10 roots fell from the sky. They were as straight as spears and took root on the energy, preventing it from successfully transforming into a tower. At the same time, Zichen slashed out with his blade. The already bright 8th floor was once again illuminated by the lightning, and strong light shot out in all directions. The humanoid creature held his spear indifferently and thrust it forward. When the blade and spear met, a powerful force exploded, forming an energy wave. The two of them retreated. The opponent's strength was beyond imagination. This made Chen's expression change slightly. Chi! The sound of the air breaking was heard. The opponent's spear came again. It was like a poisonous snake. The angle was tricky, and it contained an extremely powerful force. Chen's body disappeared into thin air. An afterimage was pierced through by the spear. Buzz! The spear in the humanoid creature's hand trembled again. Countless spear lights shot out from it. In the blink of an eye, thousands of spear lights appeared, forming a terrifying attack that covered the front. Zichen had nowhere to hide. On the surface of his armor, a light appeared. This was the light of a domain. The armor domain was activated by him. The spear lights fell on the armor domain. The sound of energy colliding rang out continuously. At the same time, his body was constantly pushed back by the impact. This armor was specially refined under Kong Hongye's supervision. It was one of the top armors in this world. This domain was even more amazing. Now, this armor domain, which was second only to the absolute domain, was obviously starting to distort after withstanding a huge force. It was as if it could break at any time. As soon as the spear lights disappeared, before Zichen could catch his breath, Another spear arrived in front of him. Clang! Zi-Chin slashed out with his blade. The powerful force shook his body again. His body was sent flying and crashed into the tower wall. Although he was not injured, Zi-Chen's face turned ugly after being suppressed by his opponent again and again. He sheathed his blade and activated his thunder body. A gauntlet appeared on his right hand, which was also a part of his armor. At this moment, lightning flashed on the gloves as a powerful aura was released. At the same time, the patterns on the armor lit up as he pushed it to the limit. The spear came again, still as sharp as ever. Zi-Chin clenched his fist and punched out. Boundless lightning flashed, and thunder power wreaked havoc. There was a huge explosion. A powerful fluctuation spread out in all directions and disappeared after coming into contact with the wall of the 9-storied tower. Amidst the shock waves, Zi-Chen's figure swayed, and he retreated a few steps. Opposite him, the humanoid creature was sent flying. However, he was only sent flying backward. He did not seem to be seriously injured at all. The aura on his body became even more powerful. At this time in the air, the spirit devouring grass was still devouring the energy of the light pagoda, causing the light pagoda to be unable to effectively form. Damn it! Zi-Chen's expression turned ugly as he charged forward again. Xiao-Chen activated his lightning body, and the gloves released a resplendent electric light. Amidst the rumbling, he threw another punch. The humanoid creature was sent flying again, but that was it. Zi-Chen could only suppress his opponent, but he could not hurt him. This was the same as the fight between the monk and the others. If the battle continued like this, it would never end. Go directly to the 9th floor. He glanced at the 9th floor, and his figure flickered as he rushed forward. The after images he left behind as he moved forward were pierced through by the long spear. At the same time, Zi-Chin, who had reached the entrance of the 9th level, encountered a ripple of light. His body slammed into it, and then he was forcefully sent flying. Bang! When he was sent flying back, the spear hit his chest. The powerful force entered his body through the armor, causing his internal organs to churn, and he almost coughed up blood. Obviously, it was impossible to enter the next floor by force. He had to kill his opponent. However, his opponent was too strong. Zi-Chin could only fight to a draw with him, but could not kill him. Did he have to stop here? At this moment, Zi-Chin heard a loud bang. He looked up and saw that the 9-story pagoda that he had shattered earlier had completely collapsed this time and could not be reformed. The energy that the 9-story pagoda turned into became pure. It flashed with a crystal light and floated in midair. Obviously, the spirit devouring grass had devoured his opponent, causing him to disappear completely. Zi-Chen's eyes lit up. Perhaps he could kill his opponent with the help of the spirit devouring grass. At this moment, the spirit devouring grass split into countless roots again. These roots did not rush toward the humanoid creature, but fell on the floating energy balls around. In the next moment, these energy balls were devoured by the roots and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Originally, the spirit devouring grass would not devour the humanoid creature immediately after killing it. Instead, it would look for the next target to fight. At this moment, something seemed to be wrong. Just as Zi-Chen was feeling puzzled, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from the spirit devouring grass after devouring the energy. As soon as this aura appeared, it was far stronger than his and the humanoid creature in front of him. Feeling the pressure in this aura, Zi-Chen's expression changed instantly. This was the aura pressure that only a divine king could have. Then, a look of ecstasy appeared on his face. Could it be that the spirit devouring grass was going to break through at this critical moment? The spirit devouring grass that was releasing a powerful aura was changing in midair. The energy light on its surface was fusing, and its aura was sometimes strong and sometimes weak. It was not stable. Seeing this, the humanoid creature rushed forward without hesitation. His target was the spirit devouring grass. Boom! A strong beam of light landed on his body, and he was sent flying. Qin stood in front of his opponent with the heavenly thunder wings behind him. At this time, he naturally had to protect the spirit devouring grass. Once the spirit devouring grass broke through to the divine king realm, it would be too easy to deal with the humanoid creature. Qin used his speed and powerful thunder body to make it impossible for the humanoid creature to get close to the spirit devouring grass. The light on the surface of the spirit devouring grass kept flashing, and the roots all retracted. At the same time, the branches and leaves that grew previously were also shrinking at this moment. As it shrank, the aura emitted from its surface became more and more terrifying. Energy roared. Qin was still fighting against the humanoid creature, and the humanoid creature was sent flying again and again. The branches and leaves on the spirit-devouring grass were all retracted, and it turned into a seed in midair. This seed became silent, and all of its aura was withdrawn. In the next moment, a popping sound came from the seed, and the seed was broken by a force. A golden light illuminated the surroundings, and a slender leaf broke through the seed and grew out. There was only one leaf, and it was completely golden, illuminating the surroundings in a dazzling golden light. At the same time, the aura of a divine king erupted from the spirit devouring grass. Qin looked at this scene in shock, and even forgot to fight against the humanoid creature. The humanoid creature took the opportunity to charge at the spirit devouring grass. Whoosh! Chapter 3009. Previously, it was extremely difficult for Qin to kill the humanoid creature, but now it was easily penetrated by the spirit devouring grass. Now, it was not an exaggeration to call it the spirit devouring king grass, because it was the first to advance in this team. After the humanoid creature was penetrated, his body remained motionless. The energy in his body flowed continuously into the spirit devouring king grass through the leaf. The spirit devouring king grass had already reached the king realm. After devouring the opponent's energy, it became even more powerful. With the danger gone, Qin gestured for the others to come up. Everyone who came up after him saw this extremely shocking scene. They all stared at the scene in front of them, dumbfounded. At this moment, the humanoid creature's body was disappearing rapidly. It became fainter and fainter. In the end, his energy could not sustain his normal body and exploded into countless energy spots. Even so, the energy from his body could not disperse. It was all devoured by the spirit devouring king grass. Whoosh! After devouring all the energy, the spirit devouring king grass turned into a ray of light and flew to Su Mingyao's side. Compared to before, it looked completely different. Only a leaf was left. However, the aura it released made it so that no one dared to underestimate it. Su Mingyao smiled gently. Her smile overshadowed the blooming flowers. She reached out her hand and touched the spirit-devouring king grass leaf gently. Then it fell into her palm and disappeared in a ray of light. She broke through just like that? Isn't that amazing? Tyron exclaimed. His face was full of envy. This was equivalent to having a godly king realm assistant. The others were also shocked. Then they were pleasantly surprised. Obviously, having such a godly king realm existence in this team was a great help to everyone. Let's go. Let's go up. Qin looked up at the 9th floor. No matter what dangers there were on this floor, they had nothing to fear. This was because they had a godly king in the team. No one expected that the first to advance to the godly king realm would be the spirit-devouring king grass. Kong Mo waited patiently on the 9th floor. He was not worried that Qin and the others would not be able to come up. However, he could not hear anything. It seemed that each floor had its own independent space. He waited for a long time, but Kong Mo was still very patient. Finally, he heard footsteps and immediately turned his head. When he saw Qin and the others walking towards him, A look of joy immediately appeared on his face, and he called out, "Big brother!" When Zichen came up, he didn't see any danger. He saw Kong Mo standing there with a bright smile on his face. At the same time, he also saw the core energy in the center. He asked in confusion, "Why don't you refine this energy?" Kong Mo smiled and said, "Don't worry. I guessed that Big Brother would come up." Zichen stepped forward and patted Kong Mo on the shoulder. Obviously, he knew the purpose of his action, and so did the others. Looking at the ball of energy, Zichen said, "All right, everyone, hurry up and refine it." This energy ball didn't look big from the outside, but it was actually a space of its own. God knows how much energy was stored inside, not to mention that Zichen only had a few people. Even if there were more of them, the energy here could still be maintained. Next, everyone formed a circle and began to refine the energy in front of them. At the same time, the spirit-devouring king grass appeared and began to protect everyone. The energy that entered their bodies was purer than the ones they had refined before. Moreover, there was clearly a unique power of law in it. As they strengthened their understanding of the law, their realms naturally increased. This kind of increase could be clearly felt. As long as there was enough time, everyone would be able to smoothly break through. At this moment, although the divine generals were constantly swept away by all kinds of ripples, if it wasn't for their bad luck, they wouldn't be in danger. If the space wasn't stable, these people would enter the boundless turbulence after entering the spatial ripples, or be obliterated by a powerful spatial power. Occasionally, spatial beasts would fly out and fight with these divine generals. During this period, some teams would slowly approach the core area. However, no matter where they went, they couldn't find the core of the 9-story light pagoda. It was as if there was a door here, and the only key was the existence of the Kong family's direct bloodline. Other than those spatial beasts and the unstable ripples, there were no other dangers in this space. Some people were very lucky. During this period, they would reach the end of this path and then enter the mysterious divine king's domain. Before coming here, their final destination was the divine king's domain. As time passed, more and more divine generals walked out of this area and entered the divine king's domain. Among them, there were naturally some who were very unlucky. They entered the spatial turbulence and could never leave. Zichen and the others were still refining the energy in the core area. Compared to the other divine generals, Zichen and the others were very lucky. Dozens of people had been absorbing the energy together for a long time. The energy that had been gathered for an unknown number of years didn't seem to be damaged at all. The spirit-devouring king grass stood guard at the side. During this period, it tried to refine the energy, but found that it was useless to it, so it simply gave up. Zichen and the others emitted more and more powerful auras. This aura was infinitely close to the divine king realm. However, what Zichen didn't expect was that the first to break through wasn't his energy, nor was it his doppelganger. It was the lightning body. Sitting cross-legged, a strong light suddenly erupted from his body. Boundless lightning energy surged out from his body, bringing with it a terrifying pressure. The pressure instantly enveloped every part of the area. Everyone recovered from the state of absorption and looked at Zichen. Zichen was completely shrouded in lightning. The lightning he released became abnormally terrifying. The people nearby, including his doppelganger, quickly moved away. This was because they felt a strong sense of danger from the lightning. In the energy, light in front of him, more energy entered his body. This energy was all absorbed by the lightning body and then strengthened his physical body. His physical strength was undergoing a qualitative change. This was because, at this moment, Zichen could feel the changes in his lightning body. It was as if he had reached a certain level of perfection. As the lightning body strengthened, a fist technique appeared in Zichen's mind. This was a technique that came with the lightning body. Its name was as simple as the lightning body. It was called Thunder Explosion. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.